Chapter 3003. In the Space of the Investiture of Gods. Hey, it's Lin Feng? Lin Feng is going to challenge the investiture of gods again. Quick, report it to our superiors. All the superpowers had their staff watching the space of the investiture of gods. They recognized Lin Feng as soon as he appeared. After disappearing for less than 10 eras, Lin Feng reappeared, causing the surface of the lake that had just calmed down to ripple. The Taichu cultivators were all waiting for Lin Feng to challenge the investiture of gods. Even the great beings from the other Origin Chaos universe were looking forward to Lin Feng's achievements and how far he could go in the investiture of gods. Huang Zun was strong, but that didn't mean the investiture of gods was also strong. Evil Sob. Lin Feng entered the sixth space of the investiture of gods. It was a great being from the demon race with a hideous face and fangs that were like two sharp blades. Two lines of blood-red, demonic engravings that looked like tears of blood hung on his body. He gave off an extremely evil aura. His power was comparable to that of killing God Wang Yin, whom Lin Feng had killed in the life-and-death battle. Moreover, they all cultivated the slaughtering Dao. Unfortunately, they're only at the 5th stage slaughter Dao. If it had been a level 6 slaughter Dao, it might have been able to pose a threat to Lin Feng, but a level 5 slaughter Dao was only at the level of an ordinary universe ruler. Evil Sob wasn't much stronger than Wang Yin. He wasn't Lin Feng's match before, let alone after 10 eras. Lin Feng was now stronger than he had been 10 eras ago. He had reached perfection in the 3 absolutes of Moss Clan. Next, Lin Feng didn't look at the ranking because he didn't want to waste time. His battle intent was at its peak, and his blood was boiling after the battle with Evil Sob. The 7th deity general was killed. The 8th deity general was killed. The 9th deity general was also killed. After coming out of seclusion, Lin Feng's battle prowess was incomparably valiant, especially his attainments in saber techniques. In terms of pure offensive power, the triple mosquito blade technique was even stronger than the Tai Chi blade technique. Lin Feng's ranking also rose as a result. 6th, 7th, 5th? Lin Feng has made it to 5th place in the ultimate god ranking. Amazing. Lin Feng has broken the Taichu Supreme God's investiture of the gods record. Lin Feng has really made us Taichu cultivators proud. These 10 eras weren't wasted. Lin Feng has already raised his battle prowess to the peak of the ultimate god venerable rank. Now it's settled. He'll definitely be able to make it to the final 3 gods of the ultimate god list. The Eastern Sea Divine Monk, Prince Yaohua, and Ancestor Yu. The 3 gods of the ultimate god list, especially Ancestor Yu, only had 3 names in the ultimate god list. His strength could be said to be the peak of the ultimate god list. The 3 experts who left their names in Ancestor Yu's investiture of the gods list were all terrifying existences in the Hongmeng Sea. Gu Huang, Qian Chou Shui, Amon. Lin Feng had already come out of the investiture of the gods. His murderous aura made it difficult to approach him. After killing the 11th deity general, Lin Feng's investiture of the gods list stopped at 4th place, just behind the 3 strongest ultimate gods in the history of the Hongmeng Sea. The last 3 deity generals had not been challenged. Now, I only need a top-level saber. Lin Feng knew his weakness. It was difficult for him to perfectly transmit his power when his saber was turned to dust. Even so, Lin Feng could not change his saber for the time being. A saber was like an arm. Every time he changed it, he needed to adapt to it again. It was difficult to use the original saber's power in a short period of time. The higher the level of the saber, the more difficult it was. Weapons had spirits. Lin Feng could now obtain a better saber than turn to dust, but he did not have the time to adapt to a new saber. Furthermore, Turn to Dust was an old friend of his who had been on the battlefield for a long time. Lin Feng wanted to complete the investiture of the gods list with it. It would not be too late to change his saber after he became a Yuan Venerate. Dong Hai Divine Monk, a top-notch universe ruler. The 3 deity generals on the investiture of the gods list were strong because their strength was much higher than the other universe ruler deity generals. One was an ordinary universe ruler, while the other was a top-notch universe ruler. It was equivalent to the difference between a Taichu marshal and a Hongmeng marshal. He was dressed in a monk's robe, had dark red eyebrows, and had a charming expression. He looked like both a woman and a man. Dong Hai Divine Monk had a lithe figure and smooth skin. He was the only one among the last 3 deity generals on the investiture of the gods list who had extremely deep attainments in the Hongji Dao and the Meng Dao. 6th level Hongmeng Law, Void Boundary. Meng Dao, Soul of the Great Universe. This was commonly practiced by universe rulers who walked the path of illusion. The void boundary and illusion complemented each other, and the perfect combination could even strengthen illusion to the extreme, making it indistinguishable from reality. The reason why illusions were called illusions was because they themselves were illusory. However, when everything in the illusion was close to the extreme reality, 9,999% real, it would be difficult to distinguish, and the great beings trapped in the illusion would think that they had broken through the illusion. Fall into oblivion forever, little fellow. Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion was terrifying. It could perfectly merge with reality and construct an illusion. The illusion was him, and he was the illusion. 6th level Hongmeng Law, Void Boundary, was perfect. Many universe rulers who knew Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion thought that they had broken through the illusion and killed him, but they did not know that there was an illusion within an illusion. You're just an ultimate god. You're dreaming if you think you can break through my illusion. This was Dong Hai Divine Monk's talent. He could see through the hearts of every universe ruler, including this little godly master in front of him. This was the pinnacle of an illusion-type great being. Seeing through a person's heart was the best way to deal the greatest damage to the cultivator in the illusion. Become the strongest in Hongmeng. Become the strongest expert in my heart insight illusion. Ha ha ha. Dong Hai Divine Monk's evil laughter sent chills down one's spine. His charming expression was strange and demonic, and he was neither male nor female. There were at least 80,000 cultivators guarding the godly master list who had died in Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion, so it was reasonable for a mere godly master to take him down. However, suddenly, impossible. Dong Hai Divine Monk's eyes were filled with fear as his body trembled violently. Through those red eyes, one could vaguely see a human youth holding a sword in one hand. It was as though he had stepped out from the deepest part of the illusion. The figure was not tall, but his steps were firm and unshakable. Every step was as though he was stepping on the blue sky. Every step he took was like a sharp saber that cut deep into the Dong Hai Divine Monk's heart. Crack! That was a powerful sword intent, Lin Feng's powerful aura. He did not have a world incarnation. It was just one man and one sword. It was as though he had been reborn in the illusion. At this moment, Lin Feng's strength was unprecedentedly strong. The saber technique realm had climbed to the great perfection of the extreme limit. Thank you for your training. The sword turned into dust and fell from the sky, cutting Dong Hai Divine Monk's fragile body in half. He turned into a beam of white light and disappeared from the god sealing space. Lin Feng 1. Chapter 3004. Lin Feng 1. He got out of the Dong Hai Divine Monk's illusion. Amazing. The Divine Lord's willpower is so strong. Unfortunately, he's still a little short. He's only 4th. 4th place is already very good. The highest Taichu Divine Monk's investiture of the gods ranking was only 8th. Even Qian Shouxue was only 5th. Lin Feng has surpassed Qian Shouxue for the first time. You can't compare it like that. I can only say that Lin Feng's ability to resist illusions is stronger than the Thousand Blood Empress. The entire Hongmeng Sea was paying attention. The news of Lin Feng challenging the Divine Lord's investiture of the gods spread like wildfire across the Hongmeng Sea. All the cultivators were watching Lin Feng create a new record. Now, the investiture of the gods ranking had increased from 9 names to 10. For Taichu Lin Feng, the impressive record pushed Qian Shouxue to 5th place. Just as the cultivators were discussing, Lin Feng had surpassed Qian Shouxue for the first time since Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. Gu Huang. Lin Feng stared at the name. It was like a mountain in front of him that he could never climb. He seemed to have no weaknesses and was always in first place. Even someone as strong as Qian Shue had her weaknesses. She was ranked 5th in the battle against the Dong High Divine Monk, but Gu Huang was still in first place. Whether it was Huang Zun or the Divine Lord, Gu Huang was undoubtedly the strongest. He was invincible. Did the Thousand Blood Empress feel the same when she challenged Huang Zun's investiture of the gods and the Divine Lord's investiture of the gods? Lin Feng wanted to know if the legendary woman of the Hongmeng Sea felt the same way. She wanted to climb the unsurpassable mountain. She wanted to defeat Gu Huang, even if it was only once. I still have 2 chances. Lin Feng adjusted his breathing and quickly recovered to his peak state. He took a deep breath. Only the last 2 divine commanders were left in the investiture of God's list, Prince Yao Hua and Yu Ancestor. Of the 2, one was proficient in the path of chaos, while the other was proficient in the path of confusion. Of course, as the ruler of the universe, there was no such thing as a weakness. Prince Yao Hua. Compared to Yu Ancestor, Lin Feng was looking forward to fighting Prince Yao Hua more, because Prince Yao Hua was a master of the Tao of Mist. If Lin Feng could defeat Prince Yao Hua, Prince Yao Hua's reward would probably be what Lin Feng needed, no matter what. What he mainly cultivated was the Tao of pure guessing. Brilliant fire was the only flame in the Hongmeng Sea. Prince Yao Hua was a flame born from the Hongmeng Sea. In essence, he was very similar to the Mountain Core. However, Prince Yao Hua was slightly weaker than the Mountain Core, and he posed too much of a threat. The essence of flames was to burn. Burn all things and devour all things. Prince Yao Hua wasn't really evil, because it was his instinct. His connate body was refined by Yao Hua, and it was a super universe body. Although he couldn't cultivate his soul, he still had the soul of the universe. Prince Yao Hua had no weaknesses in the Tao of Mist. Soul attacks and willpower attacks were ineffective against Prince Yao Hua. To deal with him, Lin Feng had to fight him head-on or use the laws of Hongmeng. Of course, if Lin Feng was as strong as Fan Zhu and Thousand Blood Queen, he would be able to kill Prince Yao Hua with his soul attacks. Prince Yao Hua wasn't immune to soul and willpower attacks. However, it was impossible for the current divine masters to do so. Lin Feng's soul and willpower weren't that strong. However, Lin Feng's blade techniques were terrifying. Liamo Extreme. Lin Feng had perfected all 3 moves of the 3 deadly mosses, and the battle with Dong Yu Godly Monk had tempered Lin Feng's heart for thousands of eras in the Hollow Heart illusion. Lin Feng's heart was like a saber that had been sharpened to the extreme. His saber intent had surpassed Ming Zhou's level and reached the perfected level of a universe dominator. He pierced through the flames and turned his blade into dust. Just like Lin Feng's willpower, he was invincible. Bang! Prince Yao Hua's attack was overwhelming. Endless flames engulfed Lin Feng, and endless power crushed him. There was no gap in any direction, testing Lin Feng's defense. However, Lin Feng, who cultivated the 3 absolutes of Moss, had completely let go of his defense and faced Prince Yao Hua head-on. Boom! 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 Lin Feng didn't let go of his defense, but he had the World Incarnation. He used the World Incarnation's enormous energy to resist the damage caused by the endless flames. Even so, the terrifying flames still brought severe pain to Lin Feng. Every attack made his body feel like it was burning. Without the World Incarnation, Lin Feng would have died long ago. Hongmeng's airflow was gentle as Lin Feng put all his combat power into the attack. Hongmeng's law of destruction couldn't be used. Once it was used, the World Incarnation's power would be weakened, and it wouldn't be able to resist the endless flames. Lin Feng wanted to break the record, but it didn't mean that he would risk his life. This was enough. Lin Feng had seen the dawn of victory. Prince Yao Hua had no chance of winning. Let's end this. Lin Feng's fighting spirit climbed to the limit. The 3 Mosses' arts were fully displayed. The golden power of the first chaos, combined with the World Incarnation, completely suppressed Crown Prince's brilliant flame. The continuous attacks forcefully extinguished his signature flame. At this moment, Lin Feng's blade techniques had reached the peak. Boom! That slash didn't just shatter Prince Yaohua, it also left a deep impression in the hearts of every cultivator who watched the battle. The golden initial power and great perfection blade technique were indescribably shocking. Most of them had never seen Prince Yaohua being killed. The apotheosis records in the Hongmeng Sea were from countless eras ago, especially Prince Yaohua himself. There were only 6 names in the apotheosis ranking. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to kill him. Just the ability to resist the endless flames was enough to make ultimate venerable rank experts flinch. Prince Yaohua's defense was strong, and his attacks were indiscriminate. Even if he could be killed, it would usually be in mutual destruction. Only Lin Feng, who not only had powerful attacks, but also a heaven-defying treasure like the World Incarnation, could fight Prince Yaohua head-on. This battle exhausted the energy of one of Lin Feng's World Incarnation. Lin Feng's loss wasn't small either. I hope Prince Yaohua's reward is worth the price. Lin Feng didn't really care. After all, he had comprehended 5 great perfection obliteration nomological laws in the past 10 years. Fred had been exhausted in the continuous battle, but he still had one left to deal with the Yu ancestor. That was enough. Prince Yaohua's reward was Meng Jidao's reward. In Lin Feng's opinion, both were urgently needed, especially since he was about to become a Yuan Venerate. His basic abilities would undergo a complete transformation, so he yearned for such a reward. I wonder what Prince Yaohua's ranking is this time. Lin Feng wanted to know. Although his ranking might not be ideal, Lin Feng could accept the outcome since he had done his best in this battle. Chapter 3005. 1. Tai Shi Gu Huang. 2. Tai Yi Qianqiu Shui. 3. Tai Chu Lin Feng. Prince Yaohua's investiture of the gods ranking was updated. Lin Feng was pleased to see that he had entered the top 3 of the ultimate god list for the first time. After all, there were only 6 people who could leave their names on Prince Yaohua's investiture of the gods ranking. The difficulty was obvious. Lin Feng hadn't had an easy time in this battle. Without the protection of the world embodiment, it would have been impossible to defeat Prince Yaohua. Even so, Gu Huang and Qianqiu Shui were still ranked above him. There's one more. Lin Feng looked at the last investiture of the gods, where Yu ancestor was. The ultimate god was the strongest of the 14 divine generals on the investiture of the gods. Everyone knew how strong Yu ancestor was, but he only had 3 names on the investiture of the gods ranking. The difficulty was even higher than Prince Yaohua's. This was the limit of the ultimate god challenge. Defeat him and become a Yuan Venerate. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was at its peak. He only needed to recover to 100% before he could challenge Yu ancestor. This was the last hurdle of the ultimate god path. If he won, he would receive a hidden reward from the ultimate god list. The hidden reward from Huang Zun's investiture of the gods was already quite good. The hidden reward from the ultimate god list would be even better. The ranking wasn't important in this final battle. Only 3 ultimate gods in the history of the Hongmeng Ocean had accomplished this feat. Even one of the current world masters, Dao Wuji, had failed. The Hongmeng Ocean was full of heated discussions about the previous battle. The battle in the investiture of the gods couldn't be recorded, nor could it be connected to a top-tier AI. One could only watch it from the Hongmeng world. Many cultivators who hadn't been able to watch the battle in time were annoyed. Such a battle might not happen even once in a million years. Brilliant beyond compare. Lin Feng is so strong. He even defeated Prince Yaohua. He's not inferior to Prince Yaohua in any aspect. It's hard to imagine that an ultimate god could kill a top-tier universe master. They're all ultimate gods. How can the gap be so huge? The pride of our Tai Chu. In time, Lin Feng will be able to inherit Fan Zhu's legacy, and our Tai Chu will be like Tai Yi with 2 world lords. Ha ha ha, you're thinking too much. Lin Feng is only an ultimate god. It's still too early for him to become a powerful being. He's still a long way from becoming a universe dominator. You're all thinking too far ahead. Let's wait for the final battle. The battle between Lin Feng and Yu ancestor will be amazing. Cultivators from various chaotic universes poured into Hongmeng world, including many universe masters. However, most of the Taichu spectators were knights and great beings. Many powerful great beings and universe masters weren't present. They were currently fighting endlessly in the Miluo Tuo realm. Insect plague. In the history of the Hongmeng Sea, there had been countless Zerg plagues. The Zergs had never thought of invading. They only hunted for prey in order to survive. They didn't exist in this dimension and didn't belong to the Hongmeng Sea. They had their own worlds. Because of this, the Zergs had to spend a lot of effort to invade from their own worlds into the Hongmeng Sea. They had succeeded in devouring most of the Taishu chaotic universe and almost annihilated it. But in the end, they failed. Taichu, Tai, Taiji, and Taisu had all encountered Zerg plagues. Every moment in the Hongmeng Sea, a blackboard would appear in a corner of the universe. This was the passage connecting the Zerg world and the Hongmeng Sea. In the Miluo Tuo realm, the battle was fierce. The first marshal's long golden tail hit the ground heavily. He crossed his arms and frowned. He couldn't hide his murderous intent. He was like an angry beast, ready to explode at any time. But as the commander of an army, he had to maintain absolute calm. Kalar, what's the situation now? The first marshal gritted his teeth. The army's 5 teams of Taichu Dominator elites have penetrated deep, said Kalar Hongmeng. The other powers have a total of 12 teams of Taichu Dominator elites. However, they're all fighting for themselves. They don't listen to our arrangements. They're already giving us face by being willing to help, said the first marshal. These were all universe dominators from various powers. Across the Hongmeng Sea, they were all famous figures. Many of them were top-tier universe dominators, and the strongest were even pinnacle universe dominators. They were on the same level as the first marshal. Why would such figures listen to the army's arrangements? Just as the first marshal said, it was already good that they were willing to help. This insect plague was serious, and no one could escape unscathed. Even if these universe dominators were strong enough to protect themselves and even leave the Taichu Sea for other origin chaos universes, the entire Taichu Sea would be destroyed. Their home and foundation would be gone. That's right. Kalar Hongmeng sighed. As the main liaison of the army, Hongmeng, he was the one who felt it the most. Some universe dominators, who were usually on good terms with the army, tried their best to avoid getting involved. On the other hand, some universe dominators, who usually didn't get along well with the army, came to help without hesitation. It might be a good thing that they're fighting for themselves, said the first marshal. During the battle at Thousand Perception Mountain in Hongmeng, we had to go through a lot of trouble to find the initial super blackboard. This time, it's 1,000,000 times harder than the battle at Thousand Perception Mountain in Hongmeng. We have no clue where to find the bug leader. The bug race had a distinct characteristic, and that was that they definitely had a head. Universe-devouring Queen Bug, Universe-devouring Bug Emperor, as long as it was a bug race, they would have a head. It was like the brain of a cultivator commanding the entire body. As long as the head of the bug race was destroyed, the bug race, which had lost its complete system, would fall like dominoes. However, the bug race wasn't stupid. Their head was very good at hiding itself, and its strength would definitely be the strongest of the bug race. The bug disaster in Miluo Tuo territory was terrifying. It couldn't be like Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain. Relying on the resources and energy of Miluo Tuo territory, not just the Taichu, even if all the great beings of the Hongmeng Ocean gathered, they might not be able to outlast the bug race. The only way was to find a Zerg's head and kill it. That way, the bug race would collapse. It was very difficult. On one hand, Miluo Tuo territory was huge, and the bug race's leader would definitely be well hidden. On the other hand, the bug race occupied Miluo Tuo territory. Relying on their huge energy and geographical advantage, they kept attacking. The army had to expend a huge amount of energy to defend against the attacks of the bug race. The battle at Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain, it's all thanks to Lin Feng. Marshal Kalar nodded in Hongmeng. Oh, the first marshal also remembered. His eyes filled with killing intent calmed down a little. He looked at Kalar Hongmeng. How's the little punk now? Chapter 3006. You Ancestor. the guardian of the investiture of the gods. He was also a top-tier universe master, but he was stronger than Dong Hai Divine Monk and Prince Yaohua. He cultivated the path of Hongmeng, a level 6 Hongmeng law known as flowing light, which was based on the laws of light, time, and water. Combined with Yu Ancestor's special body, he was invincible. Based on the power Lin Feng displayed when he defeated Dong Hai Divine Monk and Prince Yaohua, he has a 60% chance of defeating Yu Ancestor. More than 80%. Even if he can't defeat Yu Ancestor the first time, it will be much easier the second time. Lin Feng isn't weaker than Yu Ancestor. The main thing is Lin Feng's investiture of the gods ranking. I don't think third place is a problem. The key is his battle with Qian Shue. How can Lin Feng defeat Lord Qian Shui? His battle with Prince Yaohua will be enough to see who is stronger. Lin Feng can't surpass Lord Qian Shui even with the Hongmeng origin item that can suppress Prince Yaohua. It's even more impossible for him to defeat Yu Ancestor. Thousand Blood Empress is a world master after all. She's invincible among the godly venerables. Lin Feng can't surpass her. Thousand Blood Empress, as one of the 5 world masters, had a very high reputation in the Hongmeng Ocean. She was also the only woman among the 5 world masters, so she attracted even more attention. She also had powerful abilities and left a valiant record on the investiture of the gods. Huang Zun, godly venerables, Yuan venerables, and Qian Shoshue's names could be seen everywhere on the investiture of the gods. She just couldn't surpass the legendary Gu Huang. It's done. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He had adjusted his state to its peak. The battle with Prince Yaohua had consumed a lot of energy, and one of his world incarnations had used up all its energy. However, Lin Feng wasn't seriously injured. After a short rest, he returned to normal. Battle Yu Ancestor. Whoosh. Lin Feng showed up in Yu Ancestor's God-sealing space. This was a strange world. Endless light streams flowed in this world like flowing water. Some of them are moving fast, while some are moving slowly, just like a beautiful painting. Harmonize with the body. Lin Feng's sensations were amazingly great. Immediately, he sensed Yu Ancestor's power. The entire area was filled with Yu Ancestor's power, changing like flowing water. This was his territory. Just like the battle at the core of the mountain, the core of the mountain would merge with any world incarnation and launch an attack. Ancestor Gu was the same. Surrounded by these light streams, Yu Ancestor had completely merged with them. With any light stream, he could launch thunderous attacks. It was very difficult to decipher it. In the outside world, one only needed to leave the area enveloped by the flowing light. But in the God-sealing space, leaving was equivalent to failure. A major world incarnation. This was the first time Lin Feng had used his major world incarnation in battle. Unlike his small world incarnation, the major world incarnation was not only larger, its energy was more vigorous, and it was covered in the level 7 Hongmeng law of mass destruction. Although Lin Feng had yet to comprehend great shattering to perfection, at this moment, using his great world incarnation was the best choice. Firstly, the major world incarnation's defense was stronger, and secondly, the law of mass destruction was most suitable for fighting Yu Ancestor. However, there was only one major world incarnation, and its energy consumption was irreversible. Every time it consumed energy, it would take a long time to recover. Let's finish this quickly. Lin Feng didn't use his small world incarnation because this was Yu Ancestor space. He could use the flowing light streams to exhaust the energy of his small world incarnation before attacking. Although Lin Feng hadn't fought Yu Ancestor before, he could feel that this mysterious opponent was powerful and cunning. He was different from Prince Yaohua. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. Lin Feng's great world avatar had an internal universe that was stronger than his small world avatar. It was also more suited for defense. However, he had yet to cultivate it to perfection. He was unable to perfectly control his great world avatar to attack. But Lin Feng didn't rely on Hongmeng law of mass destruction to attack now. His blade art had reached perfection. Great shattering. Facing such a cunning opponent, Lin Feng didn't wait for death. He didn't focus on defense like the other cultivators and wait for you ancestor to attack. Lin Feng took the initiative to attack. Golden spell symbols sparkled, connecting with each other. Countless spell symbols released an uncontrollable power. If the power couldn't be gathered, it couldn't be controlled, and the power couldn't be released. Explode. Along with Lin Feng's growl, the golden spell symbols dazzled and spread out immediately, covering the entire god-sealing space. All the flowing light streams were enveloped in the god-sealing space. Explosions could be heard from the center, and the entire space was quaked. Is this guy crazy? Hiding in the flowing light streams, you ancestor's expression changed drastically. He knew that the great shattering was a destructive move. No ordinary cultivator would choose to use it. Although the great shattering was powerful, it was an explosive attack, killing 10,000 enemies, losing 8,000 of his own. But at the moment, he didn't have time to care if Lin Feng was crazy or not, because Lin Feng had already launched the attack. Violent explosions covered all the flowing light streams. Although these flowing light streams only contained a tiny bit of you ancestors' will, they were still enormous. Bit by bit, these streams of will gathered together, containing 30% of you ancestors' power. But at this moment, they were all gone. Rumble. The flowing light streams dissipated, and the energy was disordered. You ancestor had already consumed a lot of energy before the fight started, and his trump card was destroyed directly. If he didn't gather his physical body and leave the flowing light streams, he would be consumed even more. Swoosh! A blade light flashed in front of you ancestor's eyes. You ancestor's face darkened, as his perfect plan was ruined. He was completely led by the nose by Lin Feng. Close! Endless flowing light streams gathered from all directions. You ancestor hurriedly stepped back, dodging the blade light. But before he could gather the light streams again, another series of explosions could be heard. The rumbling explosion didn't give any chance for the flowing light streams to gather. Lin Feng pointed his blade at you ancestor. Extremely sharp, the blade was as sharp as a dagger, piercing straight into you ancestor's heart. You ancestor's body flashed across the air like a ghost, swiftly stepping back. But suddenly, an explosion happened in his great world, striking you ancestor right in the face. You ancestor was stunned for a moment. Not good. You ancestor knew that this explosion was completely out of luck, and he was just unlucky. He was right in front of the explosion, and his vision was blurred. He wasn't badly injured, but his defense was broken. Lin Feng wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. The golden engravings were shining brightly, and the blade was moving like an emperor. Absolutely explosive. Another explosion occurred. The terrifying explosive power combined with the 6th level Hongmeng law of destruction. Although you ancestor couldn't use the power of his small world to reach the peak of the Khanate level, it was still terrifying when combined with the blade art. Boom! You ancestor, who couldn't dodge, was severely injured. It's over. Lin Feng certainly wouldn't give you ancestor any more chances. His great world completely suppressed you ancestor, and the golden light shone brightly. Soon, you ancestor was killed, completing the challenge of the investiture of the gods. Ding! A pleasant sound came from the investiture of the gods. Chapter 3007. 5 treasures of different colors appeared in front of Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng shone brightly as Hongmeng energy swirled around him. He was the 4th person in the history of the Hongmeng Sea to defeat the Supreme God Investiture list. He was the first person in the Taichu Origin Chaotic Universe. The hidden reward is indeed a Hongmeng source item. Lin Feng was not surprised. The reward for defeating Huang Zun's investiture list was a Hongmeng source item. He had chosen 1 out of 7. Previously, he had chosen the domain type Hongmeng source item. However, after obtaining the world incarnation, this domain type Hongmeng source item seemed a little useless. But it did not matter as he could exchange it for another. However, with Lin Feng's current ability and the maturity of his internal universe, he still could not unleash the power of the Hongmeng source item. Otherwise, with the Hongmeng source item, the 100 million wheels 8 front formation, Lin Feng's strength would be much more terrifying than it was now. The most important thing about treasures was their applicability. The Mountain Core's small world incarnation was only comparable to a Hongmeng source item, but Lin Feng could perfectly fuse with it and unleash 100% of its power. It was even more practical than the major world incarnation. The Mountain Core's world incarnation was also comparable to a Hongmeng source item, but could be separated. A single major world incarnation was comparable to a Hongmeng source item. A single small world incarnation was comparable to a Hongmeng source item. A perfect combination of the major world incarnation and the 1,888 small world incarnations was the true Mountain Core's world incarnation, comparable to a Hongmeng source item. Lin Feng was still far from fully mastering the Mountain Core's world incarnation. He could not fully master the 1,888 small world incarnations, let alone the major world incarnation and fusing them all into one. To perfectly master a Hongmeng source item required a lot of time and energy. Even the universe rulers were the same. Lin Feng's fusion with the Mountain Core's world incarnation was 10,000 times easier. 1 out of 5. Lin Feng did not need to choose. All his eyes and attention were focused on a snow-white saber surrounded by Hongmeng airflow. It was like the purest existence on a snowy mountain, like the most dazzling star in the sky. In Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, a saber had also appeared. It was a pitch-black saber, a brutal saber. The saber soul was extremely powerful. Back then, Lin Feng hadn't chosen it. Instead, he had chosen Hongmeng's origin item because he wasn't confident that he could control that ferocious saber. However, this snow-white saber was different. It also had a saber soul. A saber of this level could naturally nurture a saber soul. Just like cultivators, the saber soul did not have any intelligence or willpower, but it had a personality. There was no good or bad personality, only the suitability. The ferocious and brutal saber soul was like a fish in water to cultivators with such personalities. It could unleash an extremely powerful explosive attack. This snow-white saber's saber soul was as gentle as jade, pure and elegant. However, it did not mean that its attack power was weak. On the contrary, it was most suitable for the current him. Such a saber soul would definitely not steal the limelight. It would only try its best to adapt to its new master. Lin Feng directly grasped the saber. Instantly, a powerful force surged. A clear current flowed through his body. Lin Feng could feel the kindness and gentleness of the saber, as well as the anticipation and joy of the saber soul. Saber Snow Jade. While Lin Feng was still choosing the rewards from the Divine General Challenge, the Hongmeng Sea was already in an uproar. At this moment, the investiture of the gods' rankings had been updated. Lin Feng had used his absolute strength to open an era that belonged to him. 1. Taishu Gu Huang. 2. Taichu Lin Feng. 3. Tai Yi Qian Chou Shui. None of the cultivators thought highly of it. In the end, their jaws dropped to the ground. Lin Feng had pushed Qian Chou Shui down the list for the second time. This time, it wasn't because Qian Chou Shui wasn't good at dealing with illusions. This time, Lin Feng had truly surpassed Qian Chou Shui. She was one of the 5 Great Realms masters and a supreme powerhouse who had once ruled an era when she was a supreme god. Being ranked second was also the best result Lin Feng had ever achieved. The Thousand Blood Empress actually lost. Unbelievable. Lin Feng actually surpassed Lord Thousand Blood. Second, he's ranked second. Oh my god, this is so scary. Such a supreme genius is actually from the Taichu. I can die without regrets after witnessing this battle with my own eyes. Lin Feng won this battle cleanly. He absolutely relied on his true strength. Even someone as strong as the Yu ancestor couldn't resist. There's only one word to describe him: handsome. The 4th powerhouse to sweep through the Supreme God Investiture list is really lucky to be born in the same era as him. I really envy the Taichu for producing such a powerhouse. I wonder if he can break the record of the Hongmeng Sea's investiture list when he's a Yuan Venerate? Lin Feng had become a legend in the Hongmeng Sea after consecutively sweeping through Huang Zun's investiture list and the Supreme God investiture list. This was because he had surpassed the Thousand Blood Empress, a world master, which was extremely shocking. Tai Shi Gu Huang was like a high and mighty monarch. No one could shake his position. Although Qian Chou Shui was known as the Eternal Second on the investiture list, her strength was obvious to all. For countless eras, there were very few cultivators who could surpass Qian Chou Shui. However, today a human from the Taichu had done it. The entire Taichu was in an uproar. Although they were in the middle of a plague of pests, this kind of big news was undoubtedly exciting. Lin Feng represented the Taichu's hope and the Taichu's future. Although many cultivators have been invincible during Huang Zun's time and disappeared after breaking through to the Supreme God Venerate, Lin Feng was different. He had consecutively swept through the Huang Zun's investiture list and the Supreme God investiture list. This was enough proof. Now, the entire Hongmeng Sea was looking forward to Lin Feng breaking through to the Yuan Venerate and sweeping through the Yuan Venerate's investiture list. He was going to create a magnificent feat that no cultivator in the Hongmeng Sea had ever achieved before. Sweeping through the Yuan Venerate's investiture list. Only Yuan Venerates could challenge the 21 divine generals. The strongest among them, the myriad Bone Emperor, wasn't on the investiture list because no cultivator had ever defeated him. However, this was still very far away for Lin Feng. At the moment, he was choosing the rewards for defeating the divine generals. Although these rewards weren't worth mentioning compared to the hidden rewards for sweeping through the Supreme God investiture list, a mosquito was still meat. Furthermore, there were often surprises in the rewards for defeating the divine generals. For example, the triple moss absolute that he had chosen earlier. Lin Feng chose the third type of reward, which was the cultivation reward. Regardless of whether it was suitable or not, the cultivation reward was definitely better for Lin Feng than the other two rewards. After all, he didn't lack resources, Hongmeng energy, or Hongmeng source materials. It's a so-so. It's not very useful. It's alright. It can be used. After choosing the divine general rewards, Lin Feng soon arrived at Prince Yaohu's choice. The East Sea Divine Monk's reward had been a little disappointing and not to his liking. Prince Yaohu's divine general reward was the one that Lin Feng had the most hope for. After all, he cultivated the path of confusion, so the cultivation reward should be suitable. Let's see how my luck goes. Lin Feng chose right away. Chapter 3008. As soon as he got home, he started typing. Resuming normal updates at Blade Shattering Stars is back. It's in your hands right now. Please wait for a moment. Once the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 3009. Lin Feng was currently at the primary golden body. In the history of the Hongmeng Sea, Lin Feng was the second person to achieve the primary golden body at the ultimate venerate level. However, this wasn't the limit. The Yuan body was. The primary golden body, and primary Yuan body were a bright path for primary Dao heart cultivators. However, it was extremely rare for almighties to possess the primary golden body, let alone the primary golden body. After a cultivator broke through to become an almighty, their internal universe would be completely mature, and it would be even more difficult to change it. An ordinary primary golden body would only become a Hongmeng body after breaking through to become a universe ruler. The rare primary golden body would become a Hongmeng golden body after breaking through to become a universe ruler. In order to attain the ultimate Hongmeng Yuan body, one had to first attain the primary golden body when breaking through to become an almighty. However, attaining the Yuan body was too difficult. There were only 2 Yuan bodies in the entire Hongmeng Sea. Therefore, the core of the mountain had tried to seize Lin Feng's body at all costs. If Fan Zhu hadn't forcefully stopped it, a 3rd Yuan body would have appeared in the Hongmeng Sea. The core of the mountain possessed enough Hongmeng energy to transform Lin Feng's body into a Yuan body. However, The price of doing so was the annihilation of Lin Feng's soul. The Yuan body was like a set of armor with extreme defensive capabilities. It would be great if one could wear it, but if one wasn't strong enough, the weight of the armor would crush them completely. Lin Feng knew very well that even if his strength improved greatly, it was impossible for him to attain the Yuan body when breaking through to become a Yuan Venerate. There was no need for that either. The ultimate Venerate and the Yuan Venerate were ultimately two different levels. After becoming a Yuan Venerate, all aspects of his abilities would be sublimated, especially the strengthening of his internal universe. When the time came, he would be able to fully control the realm embodiment and possess an inexhaustible amount of Hongmeng energy. Once everything was ready, he would be able to break through to become an almighty and attain the Yuan body. In order to achieve this optimal plan, he had to cultivate the primary golden body to the extreme when he was a Yuan Venerate. His physical body was close to a super-universe body. His soul was close to a super-universe soul. His mind was close to a super-universe heart. Any one of the three was practically the pinnacle of the path of Meng. Even universe masters who cultivated only one path would find it difficult to reach this level. For example, Azura Wang Yin was fighting Lin Feng. Although he was a universe leader, he had a big universe body. He did not have a super-universe body. It was very difficult for a mind cultivator to achieve all three Tao of Meng at the same time when he was a universe master, let alone a great being. In order to form the elemental body, one had to break through to become an almighty at the latest. Otherwise, when the universe in one's body was fully mature and the structure was fixed, one would not be able to break through the original shackles. Casting the body of the universe, the soul of the universe, and the heart of the universe was the primal chaos body. The golden body of the universe, the golden soul of the universe, and the golden heart of the universe were formed. Forming the universe origin body, universe origin soul, and universe origin heart. Lin Feng's initial golden body had been strengthened by a level after advancing from the godly Venerate to the Yuan Venerate. However, the requirements for forging a primary Yuan body weren't ordinary. There was still a long way to go in all aspects, but at least now he knew where to go. This reward is very suitable for me. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction when he received Prince Yao Hua's cultivation reward. This was the best reward he had received so far, so it didn't disappoint him. Prince Yao Hua was a flame born in the Hongmeng Sea. His innate physical body was tempered by Yao Hua, which was a super-universe body. The cultivation reward he had brought was Yao Hua's tempering. Yao Hua could undergo Yao Hua's tempering at any time. Although there was only one chance, Lin Feng could predict how effective Yao Hua's tempering would be. Although his golden body couldn't be tempered to the primal chaos body, it would definitely be improved by a huge level. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by. There was only one Yao Hua in the entire Hongmeng Sea. It was born in the Hongmeng Sea, and only Prince Yao Hua possessed it. It wasn't suitable to temper it now, as the golden body of the universe wasn't strong enough. When a godly Venerate broke through to the Yuan Venerate and his internal universe advanced, the golden body of the universe could be further enhanced. At that time, Yao Hua's tempering would be twice the result with half the effort and reach the peak of the basic improvement. There's one more. Lin Feng entered the Yu Ancestor's God Seal space and chose his reward. Although Yu Ancestor was stronger than Prince Yao Hua and was the strongest godly Venerate on the investiture of the gods, Lin Feng didn't think that his cultivation reward would be better than Prince Yao Hua's. After all, the cultivation reward was related to the divine general. Yu Ancestor cultivated the path of Hongmeng. If you're lucky, there's a high chance that you'll comprehend a level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream. If you're unlucky, there's a small chance that you'll comprehend a level 5 Hongmeng nomological law that Yu Ancestor is proficient in. The previous divine generals were also proficient in the path of Hongmeng, so Lin Feng was very clear about the cultivation reward. Even so, Lin Feng didn't mind. After all, he could only choose one reward out of 3. The other 2 were of little value, and he didn't need them at all. Quality was more important than quantity in treasures, including Snow Jewel. Lin Feng already had 3 Hongmeng Dominator Source items. Even the Hongmeng Dominator Source items weren't enough for Lin Feng, let alone the World Hongmeng Dominator Source items and the Universe Hongmeng Dominator Source items. Only the 3rd cultivation reward was something he was looking forward to. Even if it was just the Hongmeng nomological law, it would be good enough. Lin Feng's attainments in the path of Hongmeng were relatively shallow. If he wanted to become a powerful being, he only needed to cultivate the path of Hongmeng to the extreme. However, if he wanted to become the dominator of the universe, he couldn't neglect the path of Hongmeng. Light stream? Lin Feng chose his reward. Suddenly, a virtual light appeared in front of his eyes. The Hongmeng airflow coiled around him, and a powerful energy flowed into his body. Instantly, his mind was filled with information about the path of Hongmeng. My luck is really bad. Lin Feng smiled faintly. When the information flowed in, he knew that it wasn't the level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream, but the level 5 Hongmeng nomological law. There was a huge difference between level 5 Hongmeng nomological law and level 6 Hongmeng nomological law. For a dominator of the universe, a level 5 Hongmeng nomological law reached perfection and was an ordinary dominator of the universe. A level 6 Hongmeng nomological law reached perfection and was a top-tier dominator of the universe. The difference was huge. Lin Feng's combat power was comparable to that of a top-tier dominator of the universe. He also had the level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, destruction, which he could comprehend at any time. Together with his small world avatar, he could unleash innate power comparable to level 7 Hongmeng nomological law. Comprehending level 5 Hongmeng nomological law was useless. However, Lin Feng wasn't too disappointed. He just wasn't surprised. Even if Yu Ancestor's reward was the comprehension of level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream, so what? He couldn't waste time comprehending it. Oh, as he received more and more information, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, revealing a hint of joy. Even though this wasn't level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream, it was much more useful to him. Not bad. This is exactly what I need. After receiving all the information, Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and nodded with satisfaction. This reward was also something he urgently needed. Mobile version update website. Chapter 3010. Although the previous rewards weren't satisfactory, the last 2 rewards are worth the price. Lin Feng was quite satisfied with the rewards of the 14 divine generals. Compared to Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, the rewards of the investiture of the gods were all cultivation rewards apart from the snow jade warblade. Some were suitable, some were barely suitable, and some were very suitable. Lin Feng did not intend to use these cultivation rewards for the time being, regardless of their effects. He would only use them after he broke through to the Yuan Venerate. Breaking through to the Yuan Venerate would elevate all aspects, including his internal universe, his comprehension of the sky laws, and his own foundation. When the time came, the effects of using the rewards would be multiplied several times. Look, it's Lin Feng. I've finally seen him in person. He's Lin Feng, the one who swept through the investiture of the gods. You really can't judge a book by its cover. My idol is amazing. He's really only a divine venerate. How did he defeat so many universe rulers? Lin Feng, you are the hero of the Taichu. In the investiture god space, many cultivators were looking forward to it. Even though the investiture of the gods had ended, they felt extremely comfortable to finally see their idol after waiting for a long time. Presently, not only was Lin Feng's name renowned throughout the absolute beginning continent, there was no one in the entire primordial sea who didn't know of him. He had swept through the investiture of the gods. This was a completely different concept from sweeping through Huang Zun's investiture of the gods. Huang Zun's investiture of the gods wasn't a universe ruler, but a divine venerate's investiture of the gods was a top-notch universe ruler. Any top-notch universe ruler in the Hongmeng Ocean was a big shot who could cause an earthquake with a stomp of their feet. Unfortunately, Lin Feng was completely indifferent to becoming famous. Lin Feng didn't pay any attention to the gazes of admiration and admiration in the surroundings. After he received the rewards of the God rank list, Lin Feng directly left. Even though he could still explore the primordial dual polarity pagoda, Lin Feng only wanted to do one thing right now: break through to the Yuan Venerate. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. It was very difficult for most ultimate venerates to break through to the Yuan Venerate. It wasn't easy to meet all the requirements. However, Lin Feng had already prepared everything and didn't lack anything. It was just that he had to challenge the ultimate venerate's investiture of the gods. Now that his wish had been fulfilled, there were no more obstacles. After returning to the Lin mansion, Lin Feng instructed his third brother Yi Yuan and his teacher, Venerable Wan Yuan, to go into seclusion. Foundation: Lin Feng had the primal golden body, which was comparable to the universe rulers. Energy: Lin Feng had an inexhaustible supply of Hongming's energy. Inner universe: Lin Feng's internal universe was currently the most perfect ultimate venerate in the Hongmeng Sea. In fact, no one in the entire Hongmeng Sea was more perfect than his. Even though Lin Feng was now walking the most demanding path of the primal chaos venerate, he had almost reached the most perfect state in all aspects, including the control of his physical body and spirit. With the support of the primal golden body and the mind cultivation mystic technique, it was quite impressive. The only thing that was slightly lacking was the comprehension of a universe's nomological laws. Lin Feng's light and darkness great path had also reached the 8th level, so it was completely sufficient. When the conditions were right, success would follow naturally. On the path of venerable primal chaos, which was the most difficult path to cultivate, Lin Feng had completed it with absolute superiority in all aspects. There were no obstructions, and it was flawless. Everything was within his expectations. His internal universe was becoming more mature and stronger. It was like a golden sphere that was constantly expanding and overflowing with Hongmeng energy. Celestial bodies were flourishing and developing vigorously. The Milky Way in his internal universe had more abundant energy and stronger powerhouses. In time, when Lin Feng became an almighty, the strength of his internal universe would be comparable to that of a universe ruler. As long as the cultivators in his internal universe had enough potential, they would be able to become almighties. Although Lin Feng's internal universe was currently inferior to Universe 7, it was only a matter of time before it surpassed Universe 7. One last step. Lin Feng felt the transformation of his internal universe, which was approaching the limit of perfection. With one more step, his internal universe would reach the limit and trigger the resonance of the Hongmeng Sea. That would be unimaginably powerful, the ultimate form of the primal chaos venerate. Possession of Universe 7. Now, Universe 7's will of heaven had completely lost the ability to resist. What a joke. Lin Feng alone was enough to sweep Universe 7. How could the will of heaven resist? Universe 7's godly inquisition existed in name only. It had long been owned by the 7th Mercenary Alliance. It was not disbanded because Universe 7's godly inquisition still had its meaning. Universe 7 was so big that there were all kinds of trivial matters to deal with. It was impossible for the 7th Mercenary Alliance to spy on every corner of Universe 7 and maintain the order of the universe. Only Universe 7's godly inquisition could do this. When the will of heaven was possessed, Lin Feng's own will would merge with Universe 7 and even integrate Universe 7 into his internal universe. At that time, Universe 7's godly inquisition would no longer have any meaning. Now, the path of the primal chaos venerate was no longer difficult for Lin Feng. The obstacles that Senior Yellow Spring had faced in the past had all been broken. However, this was not his real pursuit. It seemed that he felt it. Lin Feng smiled as the surrounding world shook gently. It was the stirring of the Hongmeng Sea, as if it was also happy that he had broken through to the Yuan Venerate. However, Lin Feng knew that it was definitely not happiness. So what if he felt it? What can he do? When he was a godly venerate, his combat strength was already comparable to a top-notch universe master. Although Lin Feng had just broken through to the Yuan venerate, his combat strength was no less than the 8 Hongmeng marshals. He had the capital to stand proudly in the Hongmeng Sea. Back then, when he was weak, he was not afraid of Universe 7's godly inquisition. Today, he was even less afraid. What's the point of a smooth cultivation path? Challenges are the true path of a powerhouse. If you dare to come, I dare to fight. I, Lin Feng, have always been fearless. Fighting with others was endlessly fun. Fighting with the heavens was the ultimate pleasure and challenge. However, he should be too busy right now. Lin Feng knew very well how angry the will of the heavenly great path had been when he had walked the path of the primordial chaos venerate. However, the feeling today was completely different. Lin Feng had experienced it before, so he understood. Because there was a greater threat now, and he had more urgent needs. He simply could not care about himself. It was like fighting a war. One was an invasion of foreign enemies, while the other was internal strife. The power of foreign enemies was thousands of times stronger than internal strife. Once it could not be quelled, the foreign enemies would trample the empire and destroy everything. As for internal strife, it could not reach that level of destructive power. The right choice. Lin Feng had expected this. He absorbed the Hongmeng energy of a world incarnation and strengthened his body, which urgently needed to absorb the Hongmeng energy after the transformation. Golden energy circled around him. I will not stand by and do nothing about your matters. I will do my best, not to help you, but to help myself. Mobile version website M. Chapter 30:11. Lin Feng returned to the apotheosis space. The training rewards for the 14 godly generals were not much, but they were not little either. Most of these training rewards were difficult to find in the Hongmeng Sea. For example, the comprehension of the rank 5 Hongmeng nomological laws was directly instilled in the mind. In terms of upper limit, it was not as good as comprehending the Hongmeng nomological laws. But in terms of lower limit, it was higher than comprehending the Hongmeng nomological laws. This was because completing the comprehension would basically allow one to reach the great accomplishment. As long as one's aptitude was not too bad, one could master the mysteries of the Hongmeng nomological laws and reach the great accomplishment level in time. The Apotheosis Challenge was not only a place for the Hongmeng Sea cultivators to test their strength. Its rewards were even more extraordinary. However, Lin Feng's current standards were a bit high. My internal universe has yet to reach the ultimate perfection. If Lin Feng's goal was to seize the 7th universe's will of the heavenly axiom and walk the path of the primal chaos venerable, then the great accomplishment of the Tao of Meng was basically set in stone. The 7th universe's will of the heavenly axiom could not resist. However, this was not Lin Feng's real goal. After leaving the 7th universe and entering the Taichu, Lin Feng's goal had changed greatly. Especially after his contact with Fan Zhu and his experience of being possessed by the mountain core, Lin Feng's heart was as firm as a rock. He wanted to become the strongest person in the Hongmeng Sea. He wanted to surpass even the 5 great world masters. To walk this path, Lin Feng was very clear about what he lacked. Lin Feng remembered his contact with Fan Zhu and his pointers and teachings. Although it was just a few words, Lin Feng enjoyed it endlessly. This was because Fan Zhu had almost touched the peak of the Hongmeng Sea. Standing at Fan Zhu's height, what he saw was very different from what Lin Feng saw. It was further, more direct, and pure. The strength of the internal universe determines a cultivator's combat power. The perfection level of one's internal universe determines the upper limit of a cultivator. This was what Fan Zhu had told Lin Feng. The inner universe was the most essential and important core of a cultivator. When the inner universe was destroyed, the cultivator would die. When one's internal universe was suppressed, it would be hard for a cultivator to unleash their combat power. Lin Feng was very clear about the perfection of his internal universe. The reason why a black hole was that its internal universe was in a budding state and was unable to transform. The reason why some of the sub-universes were stronger and some were weaker was because they had different degrees of perfection. Some lacked the soul heavenly Tao, and some lacked the laws heavenly Tao. However, even the first sub-universe that was close to perfection had a huge gap between it and the origin chaos universe, because the origin was different. The origin of the first sub-universe was the chaotic universe of the Taichu origin. The Hongmeng Sea was the origin of the Taichu primal chaos universe. Source was also a type of perfection, and it was the most crucial type. This was why Lin Feng didn't want to take over the seventh original universe. Indeed, taking over the seventh original universe and repairing one's internal universe to perfection was a very powerful path for an origin chaos supremacy. At the very least, one could reach the pinnacle of a universe or even the limit of a universe. Among the 5 great world masters, there was an origin chaos supremacy. The Qin Emperor origin heart set that Elder Yellow Spring had obtained contained the complete inheritance of an origin chaos supremacy. Yellow Spring was the only one who had taken this path in the 7th original universe. However, many cultivators had taken this path in the Taichu Sea and even more in the Hongmeng Sea. Furthermore, many of them had succeeded. The more perfect the sub-universe was, the higher the upper limit. However, no matter how high the upper limit was, the source would still be separated by an origin chaos universe. Tai Yi, Primal Chaos Tao Lord, one of the 5 great world masters, taking over the Tai Yi first universe and achieving perfection in all aspects. This was a legend who had almost swept through the Yuan venerate investiture of gods. His reputation wasn't inferior to that of Qianqiu Shui, who was also a great world master. He had taken the path of an origin chaos supremacy. Although his path was a little slow, it was as steady as a mountain forest. When he became a Yuan venerate, he immediately erupted. Could the Taichu's 7th original universe compare to the Tai Yi first universe? The answer was obvious. Lin Feng knew very well that the Taichu's 7th original universe had a lot of flaws. The various heavenly laws weren't perfect. Even if they were mended, there would still be some differences between the Hot-Eon perfected heavens and the Xian-Tian perfected heavens. Perhaps these differences weren't big, but when one's cultivation reached the peak, these differences would become huge moats. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the strongest one. I want to take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe. Previously, Lin Feng hadn't been sure if he could take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe. However, when the ultimate venerate broke through to the Yuan venerate level, he was certain. This was because he felt the fluctuations of the Taichu's heavenly path which were very similar to the fury of the heavenly path of the 7th original universe. However, the Taichu's heavenly path was now facing an unprecedented calamity, a plague of insects. Therefore, it had no time to deal with Luo Yinyang. Or rather, it didn't care about Luo Yinyang at all. The Taichu's origin chaos universe was huge and contained terrifying energy. It was undoubtedly a fool's dream to take over the 5 great origin chaos universe that had existed since the birth of the Hongmeng Sea. However, Lin Feng knew that there was a possibility, even if it was only 1 in 100 million. He was born on Earth in the Milky Way. His bloodline originated from the 7th subsidiary universe. The 7th subsidiary universe was born in the Taichu's origin chaos universe. Therefore, the bloodline in his body also originated from the Taichu's origin chaos universe. He met the most important requirement of a bloodline for a possession. It was impossible to take over the Tai Yi, or other origin chaos universes. The most important thing about an origin chaos venerate was the bloodline. When the bloodline met the requirements, all that was left was to meet the requirements in all aspects. Taking over the 7th subsidiary universe and taking over the Taichu's origin chaos universe were 2 completely different levels of difficulty. Lin Feng was not even 1% sure that he could take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe, but that was why it was challenging and fun. He had to do his best. The path of confusion and the path of chaos are indispensable. If I want to take over the Taichu's origin chaos universe, I must cultivate these two paths to the extreme. Because the Taichu's origin chaos universe was the extreme, there was only one chance to take over a body, and that was when he became a grand figure. Once he became a grand figure, the universe and his body would be fixed, and there would be no possibility of taking over a body. Lin Feng had a certain amount of confidence in the path of Meng. He was already at the initial golden body and was not far from the initial golden body. However, his cultivation in the path of Hongji was still shallow. He had not even reached the great perfection in the basic precepts. He was still far from it. The shortest plank. To become the master of the universe, he had to make up for the shortest plank, let alone become the lord of a world. Lin Feng's goal was even higher than becoming the lord of a world. The cultivation reward of the 14th Immortal General is just enough to make up for my shortest plank, especially the Ancestor's reward. Chapter 30:12. The Yu Ancestor's reward was all the branches of the light stream. The level 6 Hongming nomological law, light stream, had light, time, and water nomological laws as its main body. The Great Obliteration had 1,888 destruction branches, and the light stream also had branches. However, these weren't level 5 Hongming nomological laws, but various fused nomological laws from level 1 to level 5. Light and time, time and space, time and water, light and yin and yang, and so on. Any Hongming nomological law was a combination of various foundation nomological laws. The combination of the foundation nomological laws could even fuse with the uniqueness of the Hongmeng Sea to give birth to stronger Hongmeng nomological laws. Allowing Lin Feng to master the level 6 Hongmeng nomological law, light stream, wasn't of much use. Thoroughly comprehending the foundation nomological laws had many benefits. Although thoroughly comprehending these fused nomological laws didn't mean that he could fully comprehend the foundation nomological laws, it would undoubtedly yield twice the result with half the effort. Coupled with the higher level of his internal universe, it would be much easier to fully comprehend the various foundation nomological laws. Heavenly nomological laws, time, space. Upper nomological laws, light, dark, thunder, wind, earth. Intermediate nomological laws, yin, yang. Lower nomological laws, metal, wood, water, fire, earth. These were all the foundation nomological laws. The 14 divine generals' rewards covered a lot. After that, there were still 21 divine generals that Yuan venerates could challenge. When the time came, they could cover almost all the foundation nomological laws and raise the primordial Tao to the extreme. Fully comprehending the Yu Ancestors' rewards will definitely allow me to fully comprehend the time, light, and water nomological laws. Lin Feng's attainments in the time and light nomological laws weren't bad. Although he wasn't very good at the water nomological laws, it would be much easier to fully comprehend the lower nomological laws. Lin Feng cultivated wholeheartedly in the God Seal space. These rewards for fully comprehending the primordial Tao laws wouldn't take too much time in the God Seal space. More time would be spent on comprehending the primordial Tao laws in his internal universe. After becoming a Yuan venerate, Lin Feng's internal universe's foundation nomological laws had basically reached the extreme. The 100,000 source points were extremely clear, and all the nomological laws were perfect. The 7th subuniverse nomological laws were flawless. Heavenly nomological laws, upper nomological laws, and intermediate nomological laws were all very complete. It was only lacking in the soul and heart force aspect of Mengji Dao. Even so, Lin Feng still spent a total of 15 eras to cultivate the 3 laws of time, light, and water to the great perfection. In other words, he had surpassed the 13th level of attainments and comprehended all 100,000 source energy. Among them, time and water took the longest. Time was a heavenly law, and it was the most difficult to comprehend. Because Lin Feng was not proficient in the law of water, it took him more time to comprehend. As for the law of light, it was the easiest for Lin Feng. Ancestors' 9 heavens of light and darkness is not the limit. After comprehending the law of light, Lin Feng finally understood. Be it the law of light or the law of darkness, both were worth 100,000 origin points. The ancestors' 9 heavens of light and darkness only fused 99,999 points of light and darkness. Although he was only one source away, the difference in difficulty and level was like the difference between heaven and earth. One required a complete law of light and law of darkness, while the other required a fused law. The complete law of light and darkness must be Hongming's law. If you can comprehend it, you will become a powerful existence. Lin Feng now completely understood. Back then, his ancestor had wandered the universe freely, transcended the limits of the heavenly Tao, and reached the limit of the heavenly Tao. However, he had only proven his Tao and had not broken through. Thus, he had never been able to become an almighty. It was because the path he had chosen was too difficult. The power of the 9 heavens of light and darkness was no less than that of an ordinary level 2 Hongmeng law. The fusion of light and darkness was at least level 3 Hongmeng law. It was estimated that it was equivalent to level 4 Hongmeng law for a peak almighty. How could Yuan Venerate directly comprehend level 4 Hongmeng law and be comparable to a peak almighty? How could it not be difficult? I won't make do. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Now, not only did he know why his ancestor had not been able to become an almighty, but he also felt the same way. If he were in his position, he would not make do either. He would either become the best version of himself or not break through. Just like how he no longer wanted to seize the heavenly Tao's will of Universe 7. The heavenly Tao's will of the Taichu origin chaotic universe was his only goal. No matter how difficult it was, he would not make do. It's a pity that the 14 Divine Generals reward did not include the Law of Darkness. Otherwise, I would have been able to comprehend the 9 heavens of light and darkness very quickly. Lin Feng thought to himself. Speaking of which, it might be a blessing in disguise. My ancestors' failure to comprehend the Hongmeng law of light and darkness back then was actually a good thing. If he had comprehended it and become an almighty, he would not have been able to be resurrected. But now, he could be resurrected if he has the chance. As long as there was a chance, Lin Feng would not be stingy with resurrection and ask the universe rulers for help. It would be a little difficult to resurrect his teacher, Monarch True Dragon. After all, they were on Earth. Although there were some obstacles in resurrecting his ancestor, it was easier than resurrecting his teacher. However, these are all things for later. Lin Feng now had a lot of business to attend to. Fanzu could not be contacted. The insect disaster was in full swing. Once it spread, the insect race would break through the army's defense line and expand with the Maluoto territory as the center. The entire Taichu origin chaotic universe would become a nightmare. Lin Feng could protect himself, but the entire Taichu origin chaotic universe would be destroyed. It would be even more impossible to take over the Taichu's will of the heavenly axiom. Moreover, Universe 7 was Lin Feng's home. Lin Feng did not want Universe 7 to be destroyed and his brothers in the 7th Mercenary Alliance to be devoured by the insect race. Although his personal strength was limited, Lin Feng wanted to do his part. Although he did not have the ability to turn the situation around, he had enough strength to fight the insect race. Moreover, Lin Feng was quite interested in the super blackboard. If a worker wanted to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. Lin Feng had the world form and the battle sword Snow Jade for attack. However, he still lacked something for defense. Lin Feng's weakest point was defense. Although he had the world form to protect him, he still lacked a good enough defensive armor. Although the Hongmeng set was not bad, it was only at the level of a normal Hongmeng origin item. In front of a battle of Lin Feng's level, the Hongmeng set's only advantage was its durability. As long as it was given a life imprint, it would be almost indestructible. Hongmeng's dual pole tower, 7th floor. Every 4 floors is a hurdle. If you can cross it, you will be given a new set. 7th floor, General Set. 11th floor, Hongming Set. 15th floor, Dominator Set. The 21st floor, Hongming's dual pole tower, was not a secret. Lin Feng naturally knew that there was a new set on the 15th floor. The Dominator Set's defense was comparable to the Universe Hongming origin items. Although Lin Feng did not lack the Universe Hongming origin items, the Dominator Set did not need to be refined and fused. It could save a lot of effort. His main focus now was on the Battle Sword Snow Jade. Attack was the most important, especially since Lin Feng majored in sword techniques. The defensive set was just icing on the cake. Moreover, the set of armor produced by the Hongming's dual pole tower had a unique characteristic. It had an extremely strong self-recovery ability. This was very important in the battle against the insect race. Chapter 3013. The battle in Miluota territory was extremely intense. The Taichu warriors, with the army as the core, were initially able to defend against the attacks of the bug race. After all, the Taichu warriors were strong, and many universe rulers were participating in the battle. They weren't at a disadvantage against the time-devouring Bug Emperor and Universe Splitting Bug King. However, as more and more Taichu elite warriors entered Miluota territory to search for the leader of the bug race, the Taichu warriors' strength was greatly reduced. Plus, after dozens of eras of continuous battles, the warriors would definitely suffer losses. Although the bug race had suffered more losses, they occupied Miluota territory and had endless resources. Their losses were almost negligible. However many died, more would be produced. When the bug race attacked, it was always a battle of attrition. Individual combat strength wasn't the bug race's forte. Different universes, different worlds, different races. For example, the Nethershire race focused on individual combat strength, while the bug race focused on group combat strength. There was no difference in strength, and they were both terrifying. Trouble. The first marshal was guarding the most important entrance to Miluo-Tua territory. At the same time, it was also the biggest exit. Once this place fell, the bug race would invade and spread throughout the Taichu territory. Although he was the commander of an army, there wasn't much he could do now. The Taichu warriors that should be mobilized had already been mobilized. Those who weren't willing to act and wanted to protect themselves were useless no matter how much he said. After all, they weren't military cultivators, and he couldn't force them. Lord, why don't we gather a few groups of Taichu elite warriors to support us? As the first marshal's assistant, Marshal Kalar Hongming was very familiar with the current situation. No, the first marshal immediately rejected the idea. His golden tail slammed against the ground as he frowned. This was a habit he had when he was thinking. Marshal Kalar Hongming was very clear about it. But Lord, at this rate, it'll take us at least 3 eras to 5 eras. By then, we won't be able to defend against the bug race. Marshal Kalar Hongming had a worried expression. He knew what would happen once the defense line was broken. They could still defend Miluo-Tha territory, but how could they defend the entire Taichu territory? Rob Peter to pay Paul? There were so many insectoids, and their breeding speed was so fast that they could cover the entire Taichu in less than a few hundred eras. Therefore, their final line of defense must not be breached. It's useless. The first Grand Marshal's voice was hoarse, and his expression was grave. Gathering a few groups of Taichu sovereigns is just barely holding on for a few more eras. If we don't get rid of the source, the insectoids will keep coming. This place will be broken sooner or later. Marshal Kalar Hongming said, but it'll take at least a few epochs. The other powers currently have 12 Taichu sovereigns searching for us, while the army has 5 Taichu sovereigns returning. This will give them at least 10 epochs of searching time. Let me think about it. The first marshal knew the pros and cons. He wanted to solve the insect problem immediately, but reality didn't allow him to do so. Marshal Hongming was right. In terms of efficiency, this might be the best solution at the moment. We'll do as you say. The first marshal let out a long sigh, as if he had aged a lot. In the end, he compromised. He didn't want to, but reality didn't allow him to. As the marshal of an army, he couldn't do things according to his personal preferences. He had to consider the big picture. Hongmeng World, God's Sealing Space. Lin Feng had already used up the God Sealing rewards from the 13 godly generals. He was now using the 14th reward, Brilliant Fire Tempering. Surrounded by endless brilliant fire and surrounded by golden mist, Lin Feng tempered his body. This was the only brilliant fire that was born along with the Hongmeng Sea. The only one. Brilliant fire tempering was also the only one. Only by defeating Brilliant Fire Crown Prince and the third Xiaoyang would he have a chance of obtaining it. This was definitely the best reward Lin Feng had received from the 14 godly generals. In terms of value, it wasn't any lower than obtaining a Hongmeng source item. The difference was that Lin Feng didn't need a Hongmeng source item. The brilliant fire tempering was a basic improvement that couldn't be replaced. If I used it when I was a godly venerate, my universal golden body would be strengthened by less than 20%. The universal golden body of a godly venerate was very different from the universal golden body of a yuan venerate. One was a saturated state, while the other was an undeveloped state. Furthermore, there were differences in the internal universes, so there was a difference in their endurance. When combined, there was a huge difference in efficiency. It was impossible to strengthen the universal golden body to the universal origin body. After all, when a mind cultivator possessed the initial enlightenment body, it meant that their physical body, soul, and mind power were all one. They could either break through together or be stuck in the same place. However, cultivating separately wasn't a problem. When one cultivated to 100 times the universe golden body, 100 times the universe golden soul, and 100 times the universe golden heart, coupled with enough energy and the support of the internal universe, one could complete the great transformation and achieve the elementary yuan body. 10-fold, 12-fold, 15-fold. The effects of the brilliant flame tempering were excellent. Although Lin Feng couldn't directly temper his physical body to a super universal body like Crown Prince Yaohua, he was gradually leaving behind the standard one-fold universal golden body. When he broke through to the Yuan Venerate, Lin Feng's universal golden body had improved several times. The brilliant flame tempering had also improved in all aspects. The only pity was that there wasn't enough time. If there was enough time, the brilliant flame tempering could definitely temper his physical body to a 100-fold universal golden body. It should be known that a 100-fold universal golden body was inferior to a universal origin body, which was inferior to a super universal body that specialized in power and physical body cultivation. Crown Prince Yaohua's physical body was a super universal body tempered by endless brilliant flame. 18-fold. It's over. Lin Feng gradually felt the disappearance of the brilliant flame and felt satisfied. An 18-fold universal golden body was 18 times stronger than when he had been a godly venerate. His combat strength had increased greatly. When he had been a godly venerate, Lin Feng hadn't been 100% sure that he could ascend to the 15th level of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. After all, the dual pole tower in Hongmeng was separated, and one could only use Meng Dao in Mengji Tower. At that time, Lin Feng had needed to coordinate with his world embodiment and Hongmeng's laws to reach the combat strength of a top-tier universe master. Now, Lin Feng's physical strength alone had already reached the combat strength of a top-tier universe master. It was enough to ascend to the 15th level of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. The 21st level of the Hongmeng dual pole tower. After leaving the sealed God space, Lin Feng went directly to the Hongmeng dual pole tower. The tower was so tall that the top couldn't be seen. It stood in the middle of the Hongmeng Ocean and was full of mystery and the unknown. It was said that no cultivator had ever reached the top, not even a world master. No cultivator knew what secrets were hidden in the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. They only knew that it was unfathomable, and there were various legends. I'm coming. Under the various gazes of the cultivators that had been waiting for him, Lin Feng stepped into the unique primordial dual polarity pagoda in the primordial sea and directly ascended the dual polarity pagoda. The challenge began. Chapter 30:14. Ascending to the 7th level of the Mengji Tower meant becoming an almighty and obtaining a warlord suit. Ranwi? N. Ascending to the 11th level meant becoming an extraordinary almighty and obtaining a Hongmeng suit. The 13th level was the threshold for becoming a universe ruler. The 14th level was the threshold for becoming a universe ruler. Given Lin Feng's current strength, he was naturally unimpeded. His first golden body alone was already invincible. Furthermore, he had refined Hongmeng's source warblade, Snow Jewel, which allowed Lin Feng's combat strength to soar. 3 Moss Absolute. All of them were great perfection. Even the Universe Ruler Guardian on the 14th level, whose strength was comparable to killing God Wang Yin, couldn't withstand a single strike from Lin Feng. With an 18-fold Universe Golden Body, Lin Feng's combat strength was extremely terrifying, even though he was only a Yuan Venerate. The 15th level was the threshold for becoming a Universe Ruler. Absolutely. With just the blade in his hand, the power of his first golden body was unleashed to the extreme, and the strength of a Yuan Venerate was fully displayed. This barrier, which had blocked countless universe rulers, turned into a wisp of smoke in front of Lin Feng and disappeared without a trace. Lin Feng had ascended to the 15th level. Of the 8 Hongmeng marshals, 7 of them were on this level and had the combat strength of a universe ruler. In the Hongmeng Sea, the combat strength of Hongmeng's dual pole tower was the most fair and recognized. There were no tricks here. It was a one-on-one challenge, and one could ascend to the highest level based on one's strength. The 15th level was a huge hurdle. Any cultivator who ascended to the 15th level of Hongmeng's dual pole tower was a big shot who could shake the Hongmeng Sea with a stomp of their feet. It was the same for Lin Feng now. Big news, big news. Lin Feng has ascended to the 15th level of Hongmeng's dual pole tower. Is it confirmed that he has ascended to the 15th level? That's impossible. It's true. All the superpowers have confirmed that Lin Feng has ascended to the 15th level and obtained the ruler's suit. My God, he's too strong. The various superpowers knew of Hongmeng's twin towers. Hence, it wasn't a secret that Lin Feng had reached the 15th floor. Very quickly, the news spread. However, this time, it didn't cause much of a commotion. After all, Lin Feng had caused too much of a commotion. He swept through the supreme God's investiture of the gods. Now that Lin Feng had reached the 15th level of Hongmeng's dual polarity tower, it was like adding flowers to a brocade. However, those who were truly observant would still notice some details. Previously, when Lin Feng fought against Prince Fire and Ancestor, he relied on that domain-type Hongmeng origin item, and it was combined with level 6 Hongmeng laws. That was how he was able to have the combat power of a top-tier universe master. Just on the path of Hongmeng, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to reach the 15th level. So, Lin Feng has improved again. Yes, he must have ascended to the Yuan Venerate level and obtained the reward of the 14th Divine General. This has allowed him to reach a higher level of enlightenment. That's really impressive. I wonder what level Lin Feng's overall strength will reach now that he is combined with the level 6 Hongmeng Law, Annihilation, and that domain-type Hongmeng origin item. He should be among the cream of the crop among top-tier universe masters. I think so too, unless his opponent can crack that domain-type Hongmeng origin item and use his internal universe to suppress Lin Feng. Even a top-tier universe master won't be able to take advantage of Lin Feng. The entire Hongmeng Ocean was now paying attention to Lin Feng. The Taichu cultivators, in particular, were the most enthusiastic. After all, Lin Feng was a Taichu cultivator. If he was strong, the Taichu cultivators would be proud. If Lin Feng could become a Taichu world master in the future, it would be a supreme glory for the Taichu race. However, not all Taichu cultivators were kind to Lin Feng. On the Emperor Star Fields, Emperor Star Fields, Emperor Star, Lin Feng had already become a symbolic figure. The Sky-bearing Star Master had even spent a lot of money to build a towering statue of Lin Feng in the center of the Emperor Star Field to serve as the face of the Emperor Star Field. What Taichu hero? Humph! On the Emperor Star, top-tier universe Master Xie was indignant. Not only was he the Star Master of the Emperor's Star, but he was also a 7-star Taichu cultivator. For countless eras, the Emperor Starfield's capital star had always been the pride of the Emperor Starfield. It was undoubtedly the strongest planet and had attracted countless cultivators with great potential. The Emperor Star had always been number one in the Emperor Starfield. Even when Lin Feng defeated Killing God Wang Yin, the Emperor Star had jumped to number 2 in the Emperor Starfield, and the Emperor Star had remained at number 1. However, the Emperor Star's reputation had already surpassed the Emperor Star's, and the Sky-bearing Star Master had raised the banner of Lin Feng to attract young talent from all the major star fields of the Taichu race. The Emperor Star had been in the limelight for a while. Xia, the top-tier universe master, didn't care. He knew that sooner or later, the Emperor Star field would eventually return to its peaceful state. The Emperor Star that he ruled was still above the Emperor Star. Who would have thought that Lin Feng would become so powerful that he'd swept through the godly venerables investiture list and set off the Taichu race into a frenzy? Not only did the Taichu cultivators seethe with excitement, but the entire Hongmeng Ocean was also in a frenzy. The Emperor Star was like a burning star, emitting scorching light. Not only had it become the most popular planet in the Emperor Star field, but it had also become the most eye-catching planet in the Taichu Origin Chaotic universe. Countless cultivators had joined the Emperor Star because of Lin Feng's name. The Emperor Star that Xie ruled was crushed and fell to second place. After that, it was even more powerless. Level 15 of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng. Xie, the top-tier universe master, sneered. His strength was also at level 15 of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng. So what if you're Yuan Venerate? The difference in your internal universe is like a chasm. However, relying on a domain-type Hongmeng origin item to balance out your internal universe is the only way you can fight against a universe master. As long as you break the domain, the Hongmeng origin item will be beaten back to its original state. Let me, Xia, show you how strong a true universe master is. You definitely can't compare to him. Xia had his pride and self-esteem. Even among the top-tier universe masters in the Taichu, he was one of the best. He had been suppressed by Yuan Venerate brat time and time again. He couldn't take it lying down. He had almost become a laughingstock these days and had been ridiculed by his friends. If Lin Feng had been in another star field, Xia would have been happy for him and cheered for him. However, Lin Feng was now in the Emperor Star field. This was closely related to his interests and reputation. How could Xia tolerate this? Very good. He hasn't climbed up to the 16th level of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng. Xia had been waiting for news. If Lin Feng had climbed up to the 16th level of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng, he would have given up. After all, that was too terrifying, as he had the strength of a top-tier universe master. However, Lin Feng was only at the 15th level of the Dual Pole Tower in Hongmeng, so Xia had absolute confidence in defeating him. Don't worry, Lin Feng. I'm not so stupid as to become the Taichu's public enemy. Xia had issued a pinnacle challenge to the Emperor Star. He naturally wouldn't engage in a life-and-death battle like killing God Wang Yin. There was no need for that. He just wanted to take back the number 1 position in the Emperor Star field and revive the Imperial Capital Star. If he killed Lin Feng, he would become the target of everyone. Lin Feng's reputation in the Taichu was too terrifying. Chapter 30:15. I failed. Lin Feng retreated from the 16th level of Mengji Tower. Lin Feng was still lacking in the face of a pinnacle universe Lord Guardian. Even with the ruler armor, he couldn't turn the situation around. The Guardian of the 16th level was rather strong. Lin Feng didn't know that only one of the 8 Hongmeng marshals had reached the 16th level of Hongmeng's Dual Pole Tower. The difficulty was obvious. If I work with my world embodiment, I can actually put up a fight. Lin Feng's cooperation with his small world embodiment was excellent. Because he was a Yuan Venerate, his internal universe was still lacking. However, his world embodiment could make up for this weakness. I'll challenge it again when I become an almighty. Lin Feng didn't really care. Even if he reached the 16th level of Mengji Tower, he would only be rewarded with some Hongmeng origin crystals, which wouldn't be of much help to his strength. The next material reward was on the 19th level, which was too far away. I wonder which level the strength of the World Master is at. 18, 19, or 20. There were a total of 21 levels in Hongmeng's dual pole tower. No cultivator had ever reached the 21st level. No cultivator knew what was on the 21st level. One day, I will ascend to the highest level. Lin Feng looked up at the towering Hongmeng's dual pole tower. He didn't know where it led to, but his heart was filled with fighting spirit. Lin Feng didn't intend to challenge the Hongji Tower. There was no point in relying on his world embodiment with his half-baked strength. He would challenge it again when he was a pinnacle Yuan Venerate. Emperor Star, Lin Mansion. Tian Chung Star Master, Empress Luoyin, Shi Wan Li, Yi Yuan, and Wan Yuan Venerate were all present. They looked solemn as they discussed in detail. Let me fight on behalf of Big Brother. Shi Wan Li chewed on the dragon leg leisurely and nonchalantly said, Big Brother has also fought for me in the past. It just so happens that I'm returning the favor in this battle. So that people won't say that I, Shi Wan Li, bully the weak and fear the strong. But second brother, the one we're challenging this time, is the undefeatable emperor of the Emperor Starfield, Xiefeng. He has won 99 out of 99 battles in the Summit Challenge and has never lost. The imperial capital star that he rules has always been the strongest planet in the Emperor Starfield. Yi Yuan said, What's there to be afraid of? Let your second brother defeat him. Shi Wan Li said casually, full of confidence. No. The sky-bearing Star Lord shook his head and said seriously, According to the prediction of the top AI, Brother Yuan's chances of winning are less than 1 in 10,000. Xiefeng's title of Invincible Emperor is not for nothing. Among the universe masters of the Taichu, Xiefeng is one of the best. Is that so? Shi Wan Li's eyes sparkled as he chuckled. Isn't that even more interesting? Big Brother, are you confident? Yi Yuan asked worriedly. That Xiefeng has been famous for a long time, and he still came to challenge you despite knowing your power. He must have a plan. No. Lin Feng shrugged and smiled. How would we know if we don't fight? Yi Yuan smiled bitterly, but he knew his big brother's personality, so he didn't say anything else. Don't worry, third brother. Shi Wan Li patted Yi Yuan's shoulder and said casually, How could that Xiefeng be your match? Now that you've reached the 15th level of Mengji Tower, with your world body, your power should be close to that of a pinnacle universe master. Shi Wan Li knew the secret of Lin Feng having a world body. Yi Yuan also knew, but he was far from Shi Wan Li, who had received the inheritance of 100 million wheels master. Let's not talk about this anymore. Lin Feng didn't care much about Xiefeng, but since Xiefeng came to challenge him, he would accept. It was that simple, and he didn't think much about it. He would just treat it as an ordinary fight. Second brother, go and prepare, Lin Feng said. Prepare? Shi Wan Li stopped chewing on the dragon leg and blinked. Prepare for what? Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he looked into the distance. After this pinnacle challenge, we'll go to Miluo Tua territory together. Ha ha ha. Shi Wan Li laughed. I've already prepared. I'm just waiting for you to say the word. Big brother, second brother. Yi Yuan was hesitant. Third brother, continue to practice. Lin Feng knew Yi Yuan wanted to participate, but with his power, it wasn't a wise decision. There will be chances in the future. Okay. Yi Yuan wasn't willing, but he knew he couldn't help. Chapter 30:16. Xie and Lin Feng? Damn, that's so exciting. Both of them are powerhouses on the 15th floor of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng. They're so strong that they're invincible. That's too exciting. My heart is about to jump out of my chest just thinking about it. Who do you think is more powerful? Xie, the undefeated emperor who has a 99-win streak in the Pinnacle Challenge, or Lin Feng, the Taichu hero who defeated Huang Zun and the Ultimate God List? I can't say for sure, but I feel that both of them are very strong. At least, they're much stronger than me. I think it's Xie. Lin Feng is only an Ultimate God Venerate after all. He might have become a Yuan Venerate now, but Xie is a top-notch universe ruler. The gap is too big. You can't say that. Back then, killing God Wang, Yin was also a universe ruler, but he still lost to Lin Feng. How can Wang Bei be compared to Xie Shun? Xie Shun can defeat him with one hand. Moreover, Xie Shun is a cunning old fox. He clearly knows Lin Feng's strength. He definitely has the confidence to win. Lin Feng is in danger this time. That's right. After all, Xie is an undefeated emperor who has a 99-win streak. He's outstanding in all aspects and has no weaknesses. The Emperor's Star domain was bustling with noise and excitement. During this period, all the cultivators were talking about this true pinnacle battle. One was the undefeated Emperor of the Capital Star, while the other was a rising, invincible newcomer who had shaken the entire Taichu. This ultimate battle attracted everyone's attention. In particular, the cultivators of the Capital Star and the Emperor's Star were engaged in a war of words. This wasn't just a battle between Xie and Lin Feng. It was also a battle between the Capital Star and the Emperor's Star, the strongest planet in the Emperor's Star domain. Unlike when killing God Wang Yin had challenged Lin Feng, no one in the Emperor's Star domain called it unfair this time. Lin Feng wasn't inferior to Xie in all aspects, so no one would think that Xie was bullying him. The battle results of Hongming's dual polarity tower proved everything. Lin Feng was fully capable of competing with Xie Feng, a super universe body. Lin Feng didn't even need to check Xie Feng's information. The sky-bearing Star-Lord had already brought over a thick stack of information. They both practiced Meng Zi Dao, but murderous God Wang Yin had a universe body. Xie had a super universe body. He was one level stronger. This difference was equivalent to the difference between a heart cultivator's initial enlightenment body and initial enlightenment golden body. His physical body is much stronger than mine. Lin Feng knew the difference between him and Xie Feng. Even if he had the primary Meng Yuan body, his body was only close to the super universe body, not to mention that he was only at the primary Meng golden body. Everyone has a ruler's armor set. The difference between the physical body and the ruler's armor set is even greater. Lin Feng's heart was like a mirror. Xie dared to challenge him. Just as his third brother Yi Yuan said, he definitely had a plan. It wasn't just his physical body. His world incarnation wasn't secret either. It was just that everyone treated it as a Hongmeng origin item. If he was Xie, he would definitely prepare a Hongmeng origin item to break his world incarnation. When the time came, his physical body would be stronger than his, and his internal universe would suppress him. Xie would win without any suspense. Let's see if he can break my world incarnation. Lin Feng wanted to know. The summit challenge was held on planet Neru. This was the place where the god-killing King Qi had fallen. However, this wasn't a battle to the death. It was just an ordinary spar. Now, that Lin Feng's name was known throughout the Taichu. If Xie defeated Lin Feng, people would at most say that he was bullying the weak. However, if he killed Lin Feng, he would be hated by everyone and his reputation would be ruined. Xie wasn't that stupid. He knew the pros and cons. He didn't really want to defeat Lin Feng. However, as the Star Lord of the Imperial Capital Star, there were some things that he had to do whether he was willing or not. I'm sorry, Brother Lin Feng. Xie bowed slightly. Don't mention it. Let's spar. Lin Feng also smiled. Although the quarrel outside was very fierce, there wasn't much tension between the two. The entire Imperial Capital Starfield was paying attention. Even cultivators from other starfields came to the Imperial Capital Starfield to witness this battle. Lin Feng's name attracted too many experts, especially the various superpowers. They paid special attention to Lin Feng. Everyone's anticipation was about to be triggered. Small world incarnation. Lin Feng unsheathed his battle saber snow jade. Instantly, a dark red light enveloped him as he merged with his small world incarnation. His current internal universe was enough to suppress most powerful beings, but it was undoubtedly at a disadvantage against a universe ruler. The internal universe of a universe ruler was on another level. It was completely superior to that of a universe ruler. No matter how perfect Lin Feng's internal universe was, it was 2 levels lower than a universe ruler's internal universe. However, the small world incarnation was the mountain core's internal universe. To a universe ruler, the mountain core's internal universe was dispensable. It was the most useless ability. However, to the current Lin Feng, it was the most useful ability. Shattering Nail. Xiexie's eyes were sharp. He was already prepared. A pitch-black primordial origin item was hurled out. It seemed as though it had descended from the boundless sky. It descended at a terrifying speed and grew bigger and bigger. In just a blink of an eye, it landed on the small world incarnation. Crack! Crack! Wherever the cracking nail was, the surroundings began to crack apart. A terrifying power instantly swallowed up the grand mist energy that was the embodiment of the small world. The endless earth seemed to be sucked dry of energy in an instant, and Lin Feng's defenses were suddenly emptied. Whoosh! Xiexie's internal universe arrived in an instant and suppressed Lin Feng. It's over. Xiexie was well prepared. The Shattering Nail was an almighty Hongmeng origin item. It specialized in breaking domains and had extremely strong offensive power. As a top-tier universe ruler who had presided over the Emperor Star domain for billions of years, how could Xiexie not have some skills? His 99 consecutive victories in the Summit Challenge competition weren't obtained by luck. It's over. What a terrifying domain-breaking attack. Is this an almighty Hongmeng origin item? Xiexie is too shameless. He actually prepared a domain-breaking treasure. Lin Feng is only a Yuan Venerate. What's the point of using his internal universe to suppress him? If he's so capable, he should fight it out. That's right. It's not honorable to win like this. Apart from the capital star, all the cultivators in the Emperor Star domain supported Xiexie. They had originally thought that they would be able to watch a decisive battle. Who would have thought that Xiexie would be so boring as to directly attack Lin Feng's weakness and use a domain-breaking treasure? This wasn't a spar. It was a battle to win. Xiexie couldn't hear the boos outside, but he wouldn't have cared even if he had. The winner was king. He wasn't relying on a sneak attack or anything. What was wrong with attacking his opponent's weakness openly? This was the Summit Challenge competition. Everyone would win based on their own strength. However, Xiexie's confidence only lasted for a moment before it was replaced by shock. Lin Feng's domain, which had been broken by the Shattering Nail, reappeared in an instant. His internal universe was immediately blocked outside. What's going on? Xiexie was a little stunned. Lin Feng had more than one domain treasure? Chapter 3017. Lin Feng's trump card was not the Great World Avatar, but the Small World Avatar. He had 1,888 Small World Avatars. As long as he fully understood the Level 6 Hongmeng Law of Destruction, he could use them. This was not difficult for Lin Feng. Understanding the first Hongmeng Law of Destruction was the most difficult. Understanding the second, the third, the fourth, the difficulty was decreasing. Until now, Lin Feng had understood close to 10 Hongmeng Laws of Destruction. Although he had exhausted most of the Hongmeng Law of Destruction when he challenged the Supreme God list, there were still many that he had not used. The quality of the Small World Avatar was equivalent to a Hongmeng source item. It was slightly inferior to a Hongmeng source item. Therefore, when Xie Feng took out the Breaking Region treasure, the Small World Avatar could not withstand it and was destroyed. However, the Small World Avatar was not a true Hongmeng source item. Every Small World Avatar contained a trace of the Mountain Core's will and was connected to the other Small World Avatars and Great World Avatars. Unless all the Mountain Core World Avatars were destroyed, the Small World Avatar could be destroyed but would not be destroyed. Breaking Nail. Xie Feng used it again. The Hongmeng source item that fell from the highest point in the sky had a terrifying ability to break regions. Even if it was a Hongmeng source item of the same level, it would still be destroyed. The Small World Avatar was naturally inferior. Crack! Another crack appeared. Xiexie's eyes glowed with cold light. The universe in his body covered the sky and covered the earth. Lin Feng was shocked. Black lines appeared on his face. There were more. This bastard. How can he have so many domain treasures? Xie Feng gritted his teeth. If it was not for the difference in aura of the domain treasures, Xie Feng would have thought that Lin Feng's domain treasures were indestructible. Breaking Nail. The third time he destroyed Lin Feng's Small World Avatar, Lin Feng took out the fourth domain treasure. Huff, huff. Xie Feng's face was pale, and his breathing was chaotic. After all, the cracking nail was a powerful Hongmeng origin item, and it was a powerful domain-breaking treasure. Using it required a lot of cosmic energy. Limitless. This must be an extremely rare set of almighty Hongmeng origin items, scattered into countless Hongmeng origin items. Damn it, I've been tricked. Xiexio's heart trembled. He suddenly realized that he had been tricked by Lin Feng. He had thought that he would be able to break Lin Feng's domain treasure and suppress it with his internal universe. Who would have thought that Lin Feng would beat him at his own game? His purpose was to consume his super universe power. The battle had just begun. Not only had he not gained any advantage, but he had also consumed a lot of super universe power. This can't go on. Only the heavens knew how many domain treasures Lin Feng had. Not only had he failed to break Lin Feng's domain, but he had also exhausted his own super universe power. There was no need for him to use his internal universe to bully the weak. Even if they fought head-on, Xie Feng would definitely have the upper hand. Hong! Xie Feng took a step forward, and his super universe power attacked Lin Feng like a cannonball. The dark red engravings of the small world avatar couldn't stop it at all. Xie Feng's power as a top-tier universe dominator exploded. He didn't want to break Lin Feng's domain anymore. Destroy. As the enemy advanced, Lin Feng retreated. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't be polite. Snow Jewel instantly combined with the 6-stage Grand Mist laws, annihilation to launch an attack. The greatest advantage of a small world incarnation was that it carried Grand Mist energy with it. It wouldn't consume any of its own strength. Otherwise, Lin Feng would have been greatly injured just by controlling and resisting the domain-breaking treasure cracking nail. The perfect destroy, combined with the small world avatar, was equivalent to the 6th-tier Hongmeng Law of Innate, close to the 7th-tier Hongmeng Law of Innate, and entangled with Lin Feng's golden initial power. Lin Feng wasn't as good as Xiexio in terms of cultivation and Hongmeng Path, but in terms of overall power, Lin Feng wasn't inferior to him. In fact, he was even stronger. Absolute burst. In a head-on clash, the power of the Hongmeng Law of Innate Destruction was fully displayed in the blade move. This was Lin Feng's most powerful move at the moment. Although its execution speed was a little lacking, its attack power was quite strong. Absolute burst. Snow Jade Battle Blade drew an arc at the speed of light and landed on Xiexio's Dominator armor set. However, against Xiexio, who had a super universe body, coupled with the defense of the Dominator armor set, it was enough to be called an impenetrable defense. Again, Lin Feng instantly exploded. The golden initial power condensed 10 times more than before, and the Blue Crystal Lake's secret technique was used. Snow Jade Battle Blade's power this time was even stronger than before. Unfortunately, Lin Feng had just merged with Snow Jade Battle Blade, so he couldn't even use 1% of its power. Otherwise, just this Hongmeng Dominator origin item would be enough to defeat Xiexio easily. Withdraw, Xiexio shouted as another Hongmeng Dominator origin item was used. The Splitting Nail was a treasure that could break through a domain. This time, it turned into a gust of wind that swept through the entire area. Not only did it destroy Lin Feng's small world incarnation to protect itself, but it also instantly shrunk the battle area. A control-type treasure. The small world incarnation was at a disadvantage. Lin Feng's disadvantage was immediately revealed. The grade of Xiexio's small world incarnation was not as good as his small world incarnation. It's about time. Lin Feng didn't want to continue. He had a rough idea of Xiexio's strength. If he had challenged the ultimate god list just now, he might have really been defeated. However, Lin Feng was now a Yuan Venerate. Since he dared to fight, he naturally had absolute confidence. Great World Incarnation. Lin Feng turned into the center of the axis, and the golden engravings flashed. Although Lin Feng couldn't use the level 7 Hongmeng Law of Destruction, he had already reached the large success stage and had no problem controlling the Great World Incarnation. The majestic Hongmeng energy immediately collided with Xiexio's small world incarnation. Xiexio's face darkened. He could sense that Lin Feng's Hongming origin item was more powerful this time. It is indeed a set Hongming origin item. Xiaoxiu knew that things weren't going well. Just as the golden engravings flashed, the corresponding crimson engravings appeared. It was as if a large circle was dragging several smaller circles, and small world incarnations suddenly had no place to stand. Retreat. Xiaoxiu reacted quickly, but the great world incarnation's oppression was too strong. Trying to escape? It's not that easy. The great world incarnation defended while the small world incarnation attacked. Lin Feng used both at the same time. While the great world incarnation was defending, it consumed a considerable amount of his opponent's super universe power. Lin Feng had the absolute upper hand in this regard. Xiaoxiu definitely couldn't outlast him. This was because no matter how much Hongming energy was consumed, Lin Feng's body wouldn't suffer any losses. The power of the golden initial power was all in the blade technique. Coupled with the great world incarnation, the power of the golden initial power increased several times. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Feng's attack erupted like a hot knife through butter. The great world incarnation's internal universe was above Xiaoxiu's, and the price of Xiaoxiu's continuous use of the splitting nails gradually appeared. The more he fought, the greater the loss. The greater the loss, the greater the disadvantage. He retreated step by step. Soon, he was seriously injured. I lost. Xiaoxiu sighed and bowed his head to admit defeat. Mobile version update website. M. Chapter 3018. Thank you for letting me win. Lin Feng hadn't used too much power. Lin Feng had already expected the outcome of this battle. He had watched the videos of Xiaoxiu's previous Summit Challenge matches, and the information given by the Sky-bearing Star-Lord was quite detailed. He had thought that it would be more intense, but he hadn't expected Xiaoxiu to have prepared a domain-breaking treasure. Brother Lin is indeed worthy of being called an invincible newcomer in the Taichu domain. Xiaoxiu is convinced. Xia didn't care. Although he was a top-notch universe ruler, losing to Lin Feng wasn't shameful. He was fighting for the reputation and status of the capital star, so he didn't have any ill intentions towards Lin Feng. A loss was a loss. Xiaoxiu was convinced that his skills were inferior. In terms of intelligence and tactics, he had lost. In terms of strength, he had still lost. Since that was the case, he was convinced. Brother Xia, you are too kind. Lin Feng only took advantage of the treasure. You are too kind. Brother Lin's blade technique has reached perfection. A Yuan Venerate with a primary golden body is rare in the Hongmeng Sea. Xiaoxiu is also far behind in terms of cultivation. Being modest to each other, sparring was just sparring. Everyone naturally complemented each other, lifting the high palanquin together. This battle had also allowed Lin Feng to have a clearer understanding of himself. In terms of absolute strength, he was still lacking. He had relied too much on the realm embodiment, so his primary golden body hadn't been fully utilized. The 18-fold universe golden body hadn't been fully utilized, and his blade technique was far inferior to Xiaoxiu's fist technique. Even his universe golden soul and universe golden heart hadn't been able to unleash their true power. Mind cultivators couldn't compare to cultivators who only cultivated super universe bodies and super universe souls in terms of physical body and soul. The strength of mind cultivators lay in using the universe golden heart as an axis to erupt with full power. In this aspect, they weren't good enough. After entering the Miliuo Tor realm, I will use battle as a substitute for training and slowly strengthen myself. After this spar with Xiaoxiu, Lin Feng planned to set off for the Miliuo Tor realm with his second brother, Shi Wanli. Although it was quieter and more stable to cultivate in the chaotic universe of the Taichu origin, Lin Feng was born with an adventurous nature. Moreover, when the insect disaster arrived, no one could stay out of it. Lin Feng didn't want Universe 7 to be swallowed by the insect race, nor did he want the Taichu origin chaos universe to face a disaster. Whether it was for public or private reasons, he had to enter the Miliuo Tor realm. Lin Feng actually won? Amazing. You beat Xiaoxiu to the point that he couldn't even fight back. Where are the people who praised Xie before the competition? Can't you see the stark difference between us? Lin Feng's strength is completely above Xie Feng's. A top-tier universe master lost so miserably, and Lin Feng showed mercy. Otherwise, Xie would have followed in the footsteps of killing God Wang Yin. Lin Feng is indeed worthy of being called an invincible newcomer. It's amazing that a Yuan venerate can be so strong. In the entire Hongmeng Ocean, I'm afraid no Almighty is his match. The capital star has nothing to say now. As long as Lin Feng is around, the Emperor Star Field and the Taichu Origin Chaos Universe will be the most prosperous planet. Haha, joining the Emperor Star Field was indeed a wise decision. The praises and compliments were endless. Lin Feng was now not only the glory and symbol of the Emperor Star Field, but also the pride of the Emperor Star Field. Even the cultivators of the capital star who had supported Xie previously were convinced by Lin Feng. It was also a matter of pride to say that they were part of the Emperor Star Field. The happiest person was none other than the sky-bearing Star Master. This battle had not only established the status of the Emperor Star Field, but it had also made him, the Star Master, proud. Now, who didn't know about the Emperor Star Field and Lin Feng? Even the sky-bearing Star Master was mentioned occasionally. Newcomers with potential joined the Emperor Star Field one after another, strengthening the Emperor Star Field. This was a long-term investment. Lin Feng's influence would last for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. If Lin Feng became an almighty and then a universe master, or even the Taichu's second world master after Fan Zhu, the sky-bearing Star Master felt excited just thinking about it. At that time, the Emperor Star Field would not only be the strongest planet in the Emperor Star Field, but also the strongest planet in the Taichu. Yes, I should go see Lin Feng and get to know him better. At the same time, I should congratulate him on this beautiful victory. The sky-bearing Star Master was all smiles. After promising the other Star Masters and Universe Masters, he hurried to the Lin Mansion. Lin Feng was now his supreme treasure. How could he not stick to him? Outside the Lin Mansion, there was also a sea of people. There were cultivators who had come because of his reputation, young talents who admired Lin Feng, almighties who wanted to befriend Lin Feng, and great beings from the Emperor Star Field who, like the sky-bearing Star Master, wanted to congratulate Lin Feng. Everyone, there's no need to wait any longer. My master has already left, the housekeeper said. Really? Impossible. It must be a lie. The cultivators were in an uproar, and many of them even stuck their heads out to look inside. Even so, not a single cultivator dared to barge in. The current Lin Feng, regardless of strength or fame, was not something an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Although he was a Yuan venerate, being able to ascend to the 15th level of the dual pole tower in Hongmeng and defeat a top-notch universe master was enough to awe others. Lin Feng had left. The sky-bearing Star Master was also stunned. A figure flashed and entered the mansion directly. Indeed, he could not sense Lin Feng's aura. Shi Wanli was also nowhere to be seen. Yuan, where are your big brother and second brother? The sky-bearing Star Master found Yuan. Big brother and second brother just left not long ago, Yuan answered truthfully. Where did they go? The sky-bearing Star Master was surprised. The Miluo Ta territory. In the sky above the Miluo Tua territory. Hua, Wu. His enormous wings were 370 million li long. His true form was revealed within 100,000 li, allowing him to travel freely. Lin Feng stood on Shi Wanli's back and looked at the Miluo Tua territory in the distance. Countless members of the bug race were wreaking havoc. This place had already become a paradise for the bug race. After defeating Xie Feng, Lin Feng left with Shi Wanli. He did not care about fame, and Lin Feng did not think that defeating Xie Feng was a big deal. Instead, it was the Miluo Ta territory that Lin Feng had always paid attention to. Marshal Kaler Hongmeng. After a long time, the communication device rang, and Lin Feng picked it up. Where are you, Lin Feng? Marshal Kaler Hongmeng's friendly voice rang out in his mind. Almost there. Lin Feng looked at the location information. He was already very close to the shared location of Marshal Kaler Hongmeng. Although the Milieu Toa territory was huge, Sherwan Li's flying speed was relatively fast. Haha, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Marshal Kaller Homing's laughter had a hint of vicissitudes. I've delayed a little. Lin Feng wanted to help, but at that time his wings were not fully grown, and his strength was not enough. Although he might not be able to affect anything now, at least he could help a little. I can see you, Marshal. Sherwan Li swooped down, and Lin Feng's figure flashed in midair. In an instant, they landed on a majestic mountain. Countless powerful existences from the army stood upright, and Marshal Kaller Hongming welcomed them with a smile. Behind him, there was a green-faced man with a golden tail that dragged on the ground. His aura was shockingly huge. Mobile version update website. Chapter 3019. It had 4 greenish-brown arms and a long greenish-brown tail covered in scales. On its chest, there was a huge one character. Primordial energy swirled around it, making it look like an emperor's sword. It was domineering. The first marshal, a true pinnacle universe dominator. There were only 10 of them in the Taichu. Each of them was at least at the 16th level of Homing's dual pole tower. The first marshal was at the 17th level. You are Lin Feng? The first marshal's voice was low and cold. After dozens of eras of fighting against the bug race, the situation was dangerous. As the marshal, he was in a bad mood. However, he wanted to meet Lin Feng. Although he was in Milieu Ta territory, the first marshal knew about some of the big things that happened in the Taichu. This included Lin Feng's feat of sweeping through the Supreme God list and reaching the 15th level of Homing's dual pole tower. If it wasn't for the bug disaster, the first marshal would do everything he could to recruit Lin Feng. Junior Lin Feng greets the first marshal. Lin Feng bowed respectfully. Marshal Kaller had already introduced him to the first marshal in Hongming. He was a legendary great being in the army and was the second in command. Not bad. The first marshal sized up Lin Feng. Young and accomplished. You still have a pure heart. The first marshal admired Lin Feng the most. Even though Lin Feng was sought after by billions of cultivators, he didn't forget his roots. He came to Milieu Tua territory to help. He was much better than those universe dominators who were fishing for fame. No matter how strong he was, no matter how high his potential was, what was the use of having a bad character? Thank you for your praise, Lin Feng said. I heard from Kaller that you found the initial super blackboard twice in Homing's 1,000 Perception Mountain. The first marshal's eyes shone brightly. It was luck, Lin Feng said humbly. I don't need luck. You don't have to be humble. If this is your ability... The first marshal stared at Lin Feng and said in a deep voice, Then, I need it now. Lin Feng raised his head and met the first marshal's gaze. He didn't need to say much to understand what the first marshal was thinking. The first time I found the initial super blackboard, it was indeed luck, Lin Feng said honestly. First time? Oh, the first marshal replied softly. He smiled meaningfully. So what you're saying is, finding the initial super blackboard for the second time wasn't luck. I'm not sure either. Lin Feng then narrated everything that happened at Mount Qinjue in Hongming. Just like what the first marshal said, since he came here, he wanted to do his best to help the military quell the insect disaster. That day in Hongming's Mount Qinjue, it was precisely because he had absorbed and refined the initial super blackboard of Mount Hongming 1041 that he sensed it and found the true initial super blackboard of Mount Hongming 1. Absorbing the super blackboard, the first marshal was stunned. This was the first time he heard of this. The insect race lived in another dimension. It was different from the Sea of Hongming. From what he knew, no cultivator had ever been able to absorb the energy of the super blackboard. It was like a normal person biting a hard rock. They couldn't even chew through it. Of course, it was possible to forcefully absorb it. For example, swallowing a small amount of rock fragments would not help one's body at all. Even if there were cultivators with extraordinary talents who could absorb the energy of the super blackboard, they could only barely do it. However, Lin Feng was actually able to convert the energy of the super blackboard for his own use. The absorption efficiency and energy are even higher than the spirit crystals of Hongming. The first marshal was speechless. Could this be the true talent of the human race? Eat. If Lin Feng knew what the first marshal was thinking, he would probably vomit blood. Lin Feng knew his own situation. When he had absorbed the super blackboard, he had many doubts. Lin Feng wasn't very sure. However, after becoming a Yuan Venerate, his internal universe had strengthened once again. After absorbing the last initial super blackboard of Hongming's Mount Qianjue, Lin Feng was completely sure. He could absorb the super blackboard because of his internal universe. A perfect internal universe could contain everything, including the energy of the super blackboard. As his internal universe became stronger, the absorption speed and efficiency would increase. Furthermore, the super blackboard's energy would strengthen his initial golden body more comprehensively than the spirit crystals of Hongming. There were two ways to improve the initial golden body. The first was the initial golden body. This was the most precious, extreme, and difficult to improve. It was equivalent to the vertical axis. Once the initial golden body was achieved, one would be able to achieve the Hongmeng golden body in time and reach the pinnacle of cultivation in the Meng Dao. The second was the Hongmeng golden body. This was the horizontal axis, which was the improvement and sublimation of energy. Many mind cultivators usually achieved the initial golden body when they became almighties and achieved the Hongmeng body when they became universe rulers. Killing the bug race, seizing the super blackboard, and strengthening energy from the initial golden body to the Hongmeng golden body was also one of Lin Feng's main goals for coming to the Miluo Tuo realm. If he could use the Hongmeng golden body to possess the Taichu origin universe's heavenly will, he would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Using Hongmeng's spirit crystals to strengthen himself during normal cultivation was not only inefficient, but it was also very difficult to obtain a huge amount of wealth. Even if he used up all the treasures of the 100 million wheel masters, it would still be far from enough. If it was so easy to improve from the initial golden body to the Hongmeng body, many almighties wouldn't only transform into the Hongmeng body when they became universe rulers. The appearance of the bug race and the huge energy of the super blackboard were a great opportunity. Kalar, the first marshal, was deep in thought for a long time. He turned around and called for Marshal Hongmeng Kalar. Here, Marshal Kalar, Hongmeng Kalar stepped forward. Get the super blackboard. The first marshal ordered. Yes, Marshal. Marshal Kalar, Hongmeng Kalar also heard the conversation between Lin Feng and the first marshal. This wasn't a secret. Moreover, Marshal Kalar, Hongmeng Kalar, was the first marshal's confidant. To be honest, Lin Feng's words were too unbelievable. He also found it hard to believe. However, Kalar didn't think that Lin Feng was lying to the first marshal. There was no need for that. The Hongmeng Sea was huge and filled with all kinds of strange things. It wasn't impossible for Lin Feng to absorb the super blackboard. In the ancient history of the Hongmeng Sea, he had heard of a cultivator who was able to absorb the energy of the super blackboard. However, if what Lin Feng said was true, then when Lin Feng found the super blackboard on Hongming's Mount Qianjue, it made sense. The core of the mountain. Normal cultivators wouldn't even dare to think about it. The super blackboard didn't move at all. If Lin Feng wasn't certain that it was in the core of the mountain, how would he dare to go in? Try it. The first marshal passed the storage ring with the super blackboard to Lin Feng. At this point, they had to try everything. If Lin Feng could really absorb the super blackboard and find the bug race, then the Taichu would have hope. However, the first marshal didn't think that Lin Feng could do it. However, he had to try everything he could. The situation in Miluo Tuo realm couldn't get any worse. Chapter 30-20. So many. Lin Feng opened his storage ring. In the endless space, there were hundreds of super blackboards. Each of them was no weaker than the first one he absorbed at Mount Qianjue in Hongming. There were even a few super blackboards that were comparable to the initial super blackboards at Hongming Mountain No. 1. This is only a small part of it, said the first marshal. The super blackboards were also valuable. However, the conversion of energy was very difficult. However, to the first marshal, the value of these super blackboards was negligible. He would give them all he wanted, let alone hundreds. as long as he could exterminate the insect plague. After dozens of eras of intense battles, the army had obtained more than 10,000 super blackboards. Hundreds of them was only a small part of it. I'll try my best. Lin Feng wasn't a pushover. He would rather do it than say more. He jumped onto Shi Wan Li's back and absorbed the super blackboard's energy. With Shi Wan Li around, it was like having a moving fortress. He didn't need to worry about his safety. The first marshal's eyes shone brightly. His aura locked onto Lin Feng. His furrowed brows relaxed slightly. Lin Feng wasn't lying. He could indeed absorb the super blackboard. The first marshal could clearly feel the super blackboard's energy decreasing. However, he couldn't tell Lin Feng's strength. The first marshal didn't care if Lin Feng could strengthen his own strength. He only cared about what Lin Feng said. Sense. If he could sense the initial super blackboard, the Taichu would have hope. Kalar, ordered the first marshal. Yes, sir, replied Marshal Kalar Hongming. Stay here and guard Lin Feng. As the commander of the army, the first marshal had many things to do. He was also a stabilizing force. He needed to guard the exit of Miluo Tuo realm. He couldn't stay here forever. Yes, sir, replied Marshal Kalar Hongming. Lin Feng continued to absorb the super blackboard. If it was during the time of Mount Xinjue and Hongming, he wouldn't have such efficiency. However, Lin Feng could absorb the normal super blackboard very quickly. However, the stronger the super blackboard's energy, the harder it was to absorb it. No. Still nothing. After spending several hundred years without any substantial gains or progress, the initial golden body had become much stronger. The energy of the golden body had become more condensed and powerful, and its strength had increased by quite a bit. However, his senses were like a clay ox entering the sea. There was no response at all. Could it be just a coincidence? Lin Feng had his suspicions as well. Hongming's 1,000 Perception Mountain was just an example after all, and it did not represent everything. He had absorbed more than 10 super blackboards, and it was a fact that he did not feel anything. Something's not right. Lin Feng's eyes turned cold. I only sensed it when I entered Hongming Mountain. Distance. Even if I can sense it, it's limited by the distance. Beyond a certain distance, it'll be very weak, and I won't even be able to sense it. Lin Feng had absorbed the Qin Emperor's origin heart set before, and it was the same. However, this was only one possibility. It was also possible that there was no response at all. Lin Feng wasn't sure which was more likely. However, there was at least one thing that he was sure of. Continuing to stay here and absorb the super blackboard was not the way to go. Although he could continue to strengthen himself if he continued to absorb, this was not his real purpose in coming to Miluo Tuo realm. Moreover, taking advantage of others like this was not Lin Feng's style. Marshal Kalar. Lin Feng jumped down from Shi Wan Li's back. How is it, brother Lin Feng? Marshal Kalar Hongming's eyes were filled with eagerness and hope. He sincerely hoped that Lin Feng could sense the location of the Zerg's head and deal with the problem to eliminate the Zerg plague. Lin Feng shook his head. Is that so? Marshal Kalar Hongming forced a smile and patted Lin Feng's shoulder. Don't be discouraged. Continue to absorb. I still have many super blackboards here. The first marshal said to do your best. Don't feel pressured. I plan to enter Miluo Tuo realm. Lin Feng told his thoughts to Marshal Kalar Hongming. The latter frowned slightly and seemed to be deep in thought. In the army, Marshal Kalar Hongming was the one who understood Lin Feng the most. He and Lin Feng had fought side by side in Hongming's 1,000 Perception Mountain. At that time, he was searching for the initial super blackboard. However, he missed the core of the mountain and Lin Feng found it. What do you think is the possibility? Marshal Kalar Hongming asked. Half and half. Lin Feng looked at Miluo Tuo realm with a serious expression. Therefore, I want to verify it personally. Even if I can't sense the initial super blackboard, I can at least do my part. Marshal Kalar Hongming looked at Lin Feng. After a long time, he said, Have you decided? Lin Feng nodded. I'll have to trouble Marshal Kalar to convey this to the first marshal for me. Marshal Kalar Hongming nodded. There are many other forces in the depths of Miluo Tuo realm. There are 12 groups of Taichu Dominator elites. We will search for the position of the insectoid commander together. I will give you the contact details later. No need, Marshal Kaller. I want to act alone. Lin Feng declined. HM? Marshal Kaller Hongming looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng paused for a moment and said, I don't know if Marshal Kaller has the feeling that the insectoids have come prepared this time. First, they came to Hongming's 1,000 Perception Mountain, and then to Milieu Tuo Realm. They attracted the attention of the army and created a perfect diversion. So, Brother Lin Feng, what you mean is, the antennae on Marshal Kaller Hongming's forehead fluttered. A spy. Lin Feng completely trusted Marshal Kaller Hongming. He slowly said, the insectoids definitely have a spy in the Taichu Origin Chaos universe. There is a 90% chance that it is a universe ruler. Who do you suspect? Marshal Kaller Hongming asked. I don't know. I don't know much about the Taichu universe rulers. Marshal Kaller should know this better than me. Lin Feng smiled, his expression deep. But I suspect it is in the army. Because the army is the most direct way to communicate with the insectoids. If I were the insectoid commander, I would definitely choose the army to plant a spy. Of course, the other forces can't be ruled out. Marshal Kaller Hongming pondered. Lin Feng's guess was something he had discussed with the first marshal before, but there was no conclusion. Even the army itself had checked once, but they didn't find any experts similar to the insectoid spy. However, what Lin Feng said was indeed very likely. No matter what, the source of the insectoid disaster is in the depths of Milieu Tuo territory, where the head of the insectoids is. Lin Feng said to Marshal Kaller Hongming, even if there was a spy, it would only add fuel to the fire. In order to quell the insectoid disaster, the key was to eliminate the source. Wish me luck, Marshal Kaller. Lin Feng smiled and said goodbye to Marshal Kaller Hongming. He jumped on his Sherwan, Li's back, and left. There was no need to ask for help. With his current strength, he could protect himself. Plus, with Sherwan Li, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. Definitely. Marshal Kaller Hongming looked at Lin Feng's back as he left, his eyes filled with hope. It's up to you, Lin Feng. Chapter 3021. Milieu Tuo Realm Entrance. The flames of war were everywhere. The army led by the first marshal was guarding this boundless region. Countless bugs launched a death attack. They had the advantage in numbers, but in terms of combat strength, the bugs were still weaker. Even if the first marshal didn't attack, the 8 Hongming marshals under him were enough to deal with the bugs. The various Hongming generals and Taichu generals were all there. They were like pillars that supported the heavens, causing the entrance to Milieu Tuo Realm to be impregnable. However, after dozens of eras of intense battle, the army had lost many powerful beings. Different from the bug race, the hierarchy of the army was clear. From warriors to generals to commanders to Taichu generals, they rose level by level. It wasn't easy to nurture a powerful being who could take charge of an area. If one died, there would be one less. The ruler of the universe was the flag against the bug race. The powerful beings were the main force against the bug race. As the main force suffered huge losses, the army had no choice but to call back the Taichu generals who were deep in Milieu Tuo Realm to relieve the pressure. Sir, Marshal Kaller Hongming bowed. How is the situation? The first marshal had his forearms behind his back. His scaled tail tapped the ground. The aura of an emperor was shocking. We didn't gain anything, Marshal Hongming said. Oh, disappointment flashed past the first marshal's eyes. Although he didn't have much hope for Lin Feng and was just trying his best, when he heard this bad news, he was still a little disappointed. Let him continue trying. The first marshal didn't care about using up some super blackboards. As long as there was a chance, he didn't want to give up. In war, at least there should be hope. It shouldn't be like now. The Taichu ruler elites deep in Milieu Tuo Realm were hope. Lin Feng was hope too. Lin Feng left. Marshal Hongming Kaller said, "Leave." The first marshal frowned slightly. He was slightly unhappy. So impatient. Marshal Kaller Hongming shook his head and said, "Grand Marshal misunderstood. Brother Lin Feng is proud and arrogant, so he won't give up easily. He and his second brother Sherwan, Li went deep into Milieu Tua territory to find clues about the insectoid commander. The first marshal nodded. His expression relaxed a little. It's human nature to be unwilling to fail when you're young and accomplished. The first marshal could understand Lin Feng's thoughts. Also, he might not be willing to accept the kindness of the military. He might feel guilty after absorbing the super blackboard and getting nothing from it. Grand Marshal is right. Marshal Kaler Hongming also thought the same. If it was any other cultivator, they would be overjoyed to receive such a large amount of resources from the army. However, Marshal Kaler and Hongming knew what kind of person Lin Feng was. This kind of invincible newcomer who thought highly of himself would definitely not be willing to accept favors from others for no reason. Heart like Hongming, aspiration like the blue dome of heaven. Let him be. The first marshal waved his hand. No matter what, since it was Lin Feng's decision, he would respect it. No matter what, Lin Feng and he had the same goal. The other universe rulers were the same as well. However, everyone had different ways of doing things. There was no right or wrong. All right, Grand Marshal, before Brother Lin Feng left, he asked me to tell you something. Marshal Kaler Hongming said. What is it? The first marshal asked. Marshal Kaler Hongming's eyes widened slightly. He sent a secret message to the first marshal. Brother Lin Feng guessed that the Taichu and even the military might have spies. Is that so? The first marshal's expression was calm. He nodded slightly. I understand. You may leave. Yes, Grand Marshal. Marshal Kaler Hongming naturally wouldn't interfere with the first marshal's judgment. He bowed slightly and left. His figure flashed as he went to the front line against the insectoids. He fought alongside the other Hongming marshals. Spies. The first marshal's long tail, which was covered in scales, tapped the ground rhythmically. A cold smile appeared on his face. As a marshal, he knew better than Lin Feng whether or not there were spies. The insectoids had made such precise decisions and arrangements this time. If they didn't have spies, how could they have done it so flawlessly? They caught the entire Taichu off guard. However, he had sifted through and tested them over and over again. He didn't find anything. If it was possession, there should be traces. If it was control, the soul would definitely be abnormal. However, looking at the army, all the Hongming marshals and Taichu marshals are normal. The first marshal couldn't find anything. In his opinion, if the insectoids really wanted to plant spies, the best strategy would be to possess or control one of the universe masters in the army. This was because the army was the absolute main force against the insectoids. During the battle at Thousand Perception Mountain in Hongming, he had suspected Marshal Wally Hongming. He was the main suspect. However, there was nothing abnormal. Healy. It was indeed Healy. A powerful being in the army, or a universe master from another superpower. The first marshal was still very certain that there must be spies in the insectoids. However, there were many powerful beings in the army, and they were spread throughout the entire Hongming Ocean. It wasn't realistic to search them one by one. Normal powerful beings had limited knowledge of the army, so their influence was also very small. The insectoids didn't have much meaning in doing this. Similarly, it was the same for the universe masters from other superpowers. This was because only the army could truly lead the Taichu against the insectoids. Could it be him? The first marshal frowned. A figure appeared in his mind. His ability was similar to his in the army, and his status was only slightly lower than his. Another pinnacle universe master, the second marshal. If it's him, it'll be troublesome. The first marshal let out a long sigh. His expression was serious. Who? Shao. Sherwanli spread his wings and flew high. His terrifying speed was accompanied by his blade-like wings. As he flew, it was as though countless blades were slicing through the air, killing the insectoids one by one. No insectoids were able to get close. Lin Feng stood on Sherwanli's back and looked down. The entire Milieu territory was densely packed and was completely occupied by the insectoids. Universe-devouring bug. Universe-splitting bug, universe-devouring bug-mother bug, universe-splitting sperm bug. They gnawed and swallowed the energy of the universe. Hongming objects had turned this place into their paradise. There were pitch-black disks everywhere, emitting a terrifying destructive power. The huge, swallowing force was like countless black holes densely covering the entire milieu Tua territory. There weren't any cultivators here. It was hard to do anything alone. Normal, powerful beings couldn't win against the insectoids. No matter how many insectoids were killed, the insectoids would quickly reproduce again. Unless there were so many cultivators that they could occupy the entire milieu Tua territory. But was that possible? Even occupying the entire Hongmeng 1000 Perception Mountain wasn't possible, much less milieu Tua territory, which was hundreds of times bigger than Hongmeng 1000 Perception Mountain. And as the third secret region of the Taichu, milieu Tua territory itself had terrifying natural dangers and threats. In the depths, even universe masters could fall. I see me air ice river. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 3022. Me air ice river ran through me luo Tua territory. It was long and connected to the deepest part of me luo Tua territory. If one followed me air ice river, they wouldn't get lost in me luo Tua territory. Many cultivators with weak willpower would use this method to enter me luo Tua territory to avoid the illusion of the mirror abyss. However, me air ice river had its dangers. One was the tide. The terrifying tide would devour cultivators. The bone-piercing cold could even freeze universe rulers. The other was the Yao Tua of me air ice river. It was extremely aggressive. There shouldn't be any more Yao Tua now, right? Lin Feng looked over. He could only see ice floating on the surface of the water. He could feel the bone-piercing cold even from thousands of miles away. Yao Tua lived in me air ice river. However, the entire me luo Tua territory was occupied by the Bug Clan. Yao Tua had probably been devoured long ago. Yao Tua was also from the Hongmeng Ocean. He had an internal universe. These were all food for the Bug Clan. However, the aura of me air ice river doesn't seem to have weakened. Lin Feng was also very curious. Shi Wanli swooped down. There weren't many Bug Clan members around me air ice river. The closer he got, the fewer there were. It seemed like the Bug Clan didn't like me air ice river. Maybe the energy of me air ice river is a bit special. It's too cold and hard to absorb. Plus, the tide might appear at any time. Hence, the Bug Clan stayed away from me air ice river. The power of nature was limitless. The tide didn't differentiate between friend and foe. Once it erupted, the Bug Clan wouldn't be able to escape. Miluo Tua territory was so huge. The energy was inexhaustible. There were easier and safer ways to absorb energy. Why would the Bug Clan absorb me air ice river? Even if they didn't have intelligence, at least they had instincts and knew how to avoid danger. Plus, all the Bug Clan was controlled by the commander. They wouldn't be so stupid. Second brother, follow me air ice river. This was the first time Lin Feng entered me luo Tua territory. Naturally, he chose the safest method. Me luo Tua territory was so huge that even universe rulers might not be able to explore it completely. It would be troublesome if he got lost. Lin Feng wasn't afraid of illusions, nor was he afraid of the dangers of getting lost. He just didn't want to waste time. Marshal Kaler Hongmeng had mentioned to him that the current situation in Miluo Tua territory was not good. The endless number of insects was consuming the army's strength. Every era, the army's strength was decreasing, but the insects were not damaged at all. The various Taichu factions, a total of 12 Taichu sovereigns, had already entered the Miluo Tua territory to search for traces of the insectoid commander, but they had yet to find anything. It was very difficult. Miluo Tua realm was very large. Even the deepest part was incomparably large, and the insect race's head commander was not necessarily in the deepest part. If he wanted to hide, how could he be found so easily? Back then, in Hongmeng's Mount Xianjue, in a place as big as Hongmeng Mount No. 1, the army couldn't even find the initial super blackboard, let alone the current Miluo Tua realm. But they had to find it. The army, the Taichu, had no other choice. If they couldn't find the insectoid commander and kill him, the insectoids would be able to reproduce endlessly. Back then, in Homing's Mount Xianjue, they could still exhaust the insectoids because Mount number 1 Hongming had less energy, but the energy in Miluo Toa territory was terrifying. Now, it was too late to kill the insectoids as a whole. If they could find a spy early on and understand the insectoids' plans and schemes, they could kill them one by one before they landed. Perhaps there would be hope to nip them in the bud. I can't sense anything. Lin Feng had been in Miluo Toa territory for a while. He had absorbed dozens of super blackboards, but he still hadn't found anything. Although it was still possible, it was unrealistic to put all his hopes on sensing it. Take the initiative to attack. Just like what the first marshal said, Lin Feng didn't want to receive any more favors from the military. He didn't do anything, yet he absorbed so many super blackboards from the military for nothing. Lin Feng felt bad about it. If he wanted the super blackboards, he would rather get them himself. On the other hand, it was true that he couldn't sense anything. If his path didn't work, then he would change to another path. Although entering Miluo Toa territory was unknown, there were many things that could only be judged and thought after experiencing it personally. Stumbling and stopping, he wouldn't get anything. Time-devouring bug emperors, there are many. Lin Feng and Sherwan Li had been rushing along, so they encountered the most soul attacks. The universe-splitting Bug King's attacks were close-range sickle attacks, but the time-devouring Bug Emperor's attacks were partly illusions and partly soul attacks. This was also why even universe rulers had to form teams to enter. Universe rulers, unless they were extremely powerful, every soul attack from the time-devouring Bug Emperor would cause some damage to their own soul. Even if it was less than 1/10,000 th of the damage, it would be 1/100th of the damage after 100 attacks. The damage to the soul was very slow to recover. Many universe rulers didn't walk the path of ignorance, and even if they did, they might not be super universe souls. But Lin Feng wasn't afraid. Initial golden body. Golden initial golden body. It could be used by the body, soul, and heart at the same time. The soul could recover very quickly. Heart cultivators had the strongest comprehensive ability in the Hongmeng Ocean. Sherwan Li wasn't an initial golden body, but a Hongmeng body. He had inherited the master of 100 million wheels, and with his natural talent, he became a Hongmeng body when he became a powerful being. His combat power was comparable to a universe ruler. However, going from initial golden body to Hongmeng body was easy, but going from Hongmeng body to Hongmeng body was difficult. So, Lin Feng and Sherwan Li were alone and couldn't compare to the 12 Taichu Dominator elite teams. But the resistance of heart cultivators was quite strong. Little by little, they entered the middle section of Mi Air Ice River. We're halfway there. Lin Feng absorbed the super blackboard and increased his power. All the fighting was done by Sherwan Li, so he was at ease. Although the bugs wanted to kill Lin Feng and Sherwan Li, the two were not only resistant, but also flew too fast. The universe-splitting Bug King couldn't catch up. The only threat was the universe-devouring Bug King's soul attack. Along the way, they killed dozens of super blackboards. Basically, after absorbing one super blackboard, another would appear immediately. Lin Feng's initial golden body was increasing quickly and efficiently. Although Sherwan Li was a Hongmeng body, he couldn't absorb the super blackboard's energy like all the other heart cultivators. Lin Feng was the only exception. Big brother, something's not right. Sherwan Li's senses were quite sharp. Yeah. Lin Feng looked around. It seemed like danger was coming, but he couldn't put his finger on it. A storm was coming. Was an attack from the bugs? Or boom, pung pung. Miluo Glacier, which had been calm and tranquil all this time, suddenly let out an earth-shattering sound. Countless ice shards flew in all directions like hidden weapons, filling the sky with ice rain. A terrifying power erupted from the depths of Miluo Glacier like a volcano, and a bone-piercing cold enveloped Miluo Toa territory. Ice River Tide. Chapter 3023. Small World Avatar. In the face of the sudden tidal wave, Lin Feng quickly put up a defense. He was not protecting himself. but protecting the area of 100,000 miles around him. In the beginning, he did not care about it, but his huge body instantly turned him into a live target. When hundreds of millions of ice shards landed on his body, that kind of pain was unforgettable. Clenching his teeth and shrinking his body, Sherwanli almost fainted from the sudden eruption of the tide. Even with his outstanding talent and Hongmeng body's defense comparable to that of a universe master, he couldn't withstand the terrifying power of the ice river tide. Pung, pung, pung. Under the protection of Lin Feng's small world incarnation, the shrunken 100,000 miles was finally safe and sound. His face was panting as if he had just survived a calamity, and his eyes were filled with fear as he looked down at the endless Mir glacier. He didn't expect that a small ice river would have such a huge destructive power. No wonder the Bug Clan doesn't dare to approach. Lin Feng and Sherwanli saw it differently. In the short eruption of the tide, countless universe-devouring bugs and universe-splitter bugs were killed. Even many universe-devouring queen bugs and universe-splitter sperm bugs weren't spared. The closer the distance, the greater the damage of the tide. What was the advantage of the Bug Clan? Quantity. However, under the eruption of the tide, quantity was useless. No matter how many there were, could they be more than the ice shards of the ice river? Even if there were 10 or 100 times more of them, everything around the Mi-Air ice river would be swallowed. The ice river itself had destructive power, and the eruption of the tide was even more terrifying. The ice shard were only a small part of it. The strongest power of the tide came from the Mi-Air ice river itself. The river waves engulfed everything, just like a black hole swallowing everything. However, the power of the ice river tide was much stronger than a black hole. Just the water of the Mi-Air ice river was enough to freeze ordinary universe-devouring bugs and universe-splitter bugs. What the tide brought was the explosive power of a natural disaster. Everything around the Mi-Air ice river ceased to exist, just like a monster swallowing everything. What a terrifying ice river tide! Lin Feng sighed. Such power, even powerful beings have to stand aside. In the depths of the Mi-Air ice river, the tide's power is enough to kill a universe master. Wait a minute. Lin Feng's heart trembled. Tide had killed universe masters. Could it be that the insect tribe's great commander is in the Mi-Air glacier? Lin Feng had a sudden thought. He recalled the battle at Mount Xinjue in Hongmeng, where the original insect tribe blackboard was in the core of the mountain. The most dangerous place was actually the safest place. The Mi-Air ice river was the only long river that ran through the Mi-Luo Tuo realm, and it had a lot of mysteries and uncertainties. Indeed, the depths of Mi-Air ice river were enough to kill universe masters, but the depths of the mountain core were also enough to destroy the original super blackboard. Danger was relative. If the great commander of the Bug Clan was hiding in the depths of Mi-Air ice river, Mi-Air ice river itself would be a natural barrier that would prevent great beings from entering. Although universe masters could enter, it would be extremely difficult to go deep. After all, there was still the Yao Tuo clan in the Mi-Air ice river, and they were savage by nature. Furthermore, the Mi-Air ice river was convenient for transportation. It was connected to the entire Mi-Luo Tuo realm. The Grand Commander of the Bug Race could give birth to universe-devouring bug emperors and universe-splitterbug kings. Through the Mi-Air ice river, he could transport them to various parts of the Mi-Luo Tuo realm. It's not hard to guess. The other 12 groups of Taichu Dominator elites should have thought of it too. Lin Feng pondered. After the previous battle of the mountain core, the universe masters all understood the methods of the Bug Clan. At least one group would go deep into the Mi-Air ice river to investigate. It was just that they didn't know the results. Although Lin Feng guessed this, he wasn't in a hurry to enter the Mi-Air ice river. Firstly, he still hadn't reached the depths of the Mi-Luo Tuo realm. Even if he entered the Mi-Air ice river, he would only be in the middle section. There was no reason for the great commander of the Bug Clan to hide in the middle section, right? If he entered the Mi-Air ice river, rushing through the river would undoubtedly be a huge waste of time. Moreover, everything was unknown. The great commander of the Bug clan definitely had intelligence. There was no reason for him to use the same trick twice. He might not enter the Air-Ice River as he guessed. In the depths of the Milieu Tor realm, there are all sorts of illusions, natural barriers, and other regions. If he really wanted to hide, he could be anywhere. It was even possible that the great commander of the Bug clan wasn't in the depths of the Milieu Tor realm. However, this possibility was very small, because the great commander of the Bug clan needed enough energy to breed. The denser and stronger the energy, the faster the breeding. The depths of the Milieu Tor realm was almost the only choice. Continue going deeper. Sherwan Li, who had suffered from the ice river tide, slightly distanced himself from the Air-Ice River. His shrunken body caused his speed to decrease sharply. The ice river tide erupted in an instant. There was almost no warning. Sherwan Li didn't want to experience that heart-wrenching pain again. It was like being pricked by needles. Although he didn't suffer any injuries, being pricked 100 million times at once, that pain was too terrifying. The deeper they went, the more frequent the ice river tide. Because the gravity of the Milieu Tor realm was huge, the energy in the depths of the core was too strong. Therefore, the Air-Ice River would erupt with ice river tide from time to time, and the power was stronger each time. However, Lin Feng and Sherwan Li were gradually getting used to it. They cut through all obstacles along the way, absorbing the super blackboard while moving deeper. They didn't meet any other elite Taichu rulers. They had entered the depths of the Milieu Tor realm several eras earlier than Lin Feng. They were getting closer and closer to the depths of the Milieu Tor realm, the Taichu's third-ranked secret realm. Not long ago, all kinds of life flourished, and the demon Tuo ran rampant. Now, it has become a land where not a single hair grows. Lin Feng sighed. Along the way, they almost didn't see any life. Those plant life, special life, heaven and earth spirit beasts, as long as there was a little bit of life, they were all eaten by the insect clan. They were all energy, but these were especially delicious to the insect clan. The Milieu Tor realm was barren. What they could see was desolation. Countless insect clan were wreaking havoc. Looking at the Milieu Tor realm was like looking at the future Taichu. If the army couldn't resist, if they couldn't find the insect clan commander, the current Milieu Tor realm was the future Taichu. Everything would be nibbled away. I must not let this happen. Lin Feng's heart was especially firm. This was his primary purpose for coming here. How many super blackboards could he obtain was only secondary. Doing his part to pacify the insect clan was what Lin Feng wanted to do the most. He was also a part of the Taichu. That is the depths of the Milieu Tor realm, the Milieu wilderness. Lin Feng could see from afar that the Milieu wilderness still maintained its original state. It was the most chaotic region of the Milieu Tor realm, the region with the most chaotic energy. That place was a forbidden land where even the rulers of the universe could fall. It was full of the unknown and terrifying. Oh, just as they approached the Milieu wilderness, Lin Feng, who was standing on Sherwan Li's back, suddenly showed a surprised expression. Then his eyes lit up, and his heartbeat sped up. Sensing. Although it was very weak, it was definitely sensing. Mobile version website. Chapter 3024. There's finally a reaction. Lin Feng wasn't too surprised. It was the same for Hongming's 1,000 Perception Mountain. When he was at Hongming Mountain 1041, he didn't sense anything. He only sensed something when he entered Hongming Mountain 1. There was a distance between them. As expected, it's in the depths of Milieu Tor territory, Milieu wilderness. Lin Feng hesitated slightly. He didn't know if he should inform the first marshal. This was a serious matter. With his strength, he might not be able to deal with the bug race commander. Let's confirm it first. Although it was a reaction, Lin Feng wasn't sure. If he didn't see it, anything was possible. The first marshal led the army to guard the entrance of Milieu Tor realm. No cultivator could replace his role. If he came all the way to the Milieu wilderness because of the information he wasn't sure of and ended up with nothing, Lin Feng would feel very guilty. Such a price was too great for the Taichu. After confirming the reaction and confirming the bug race commander, He would inform the first marshal. As long as there was a reaction, no matter where the bug race commander went, he would be able to sense it. There was no need to be afraid of alerting him. From a direction, it's not Miliuo Ice River. Lin Feng rejected his previous guess. The bug race commander wasn't in a dangerous place like Miliuo Ice River. There were also many dangerous places in the wilderness where he could hide. The danger level was even higher than Miliuo Ice River. Whoosh, Lin Feng spread his wings and soared. He flew 50,000 kilometers into the Miliuo wilderness. It was a chaotic world, but it still maintained the most primitive and essential appearance of the Miliuo Tuor realm. Lin Feng let out a soft "oh," and his eyes shone slightly. There were many life auras here. Chaotic airflow lingered. Many special life forms existed. There were many auras. It wasn't like the barren land outside Miliuo Tuor territory. It was like an oasis in the desert. It was fresh and peaceful. Are they afraid that the universe ruler will follow the clues and find clues about the bug race commander? Or are they treating this place as their backyard and raising these special life forms and playing with them? Lin Feng did not know the insectoid's motives. With the Zerg's temperament, normally they would first swallow all living things and then absorb all kinds of cosmic energy. However, the Miliuo wilderness was like a paradise that was not invaded by the Zerg. This was not an illusion, nor was it an illusion. With Lin Feng's willpower, no matter how powerful the insectoid soul power was, they would not be able to trap him in an illusion. Everything was real. Roar! In the distance, a white phantom appeared in the Hongmeng space. It had 6 slender arms, a single golden eye, and a huge head. It transformed into a beam of white light and attacked Lin Feng with a bone-chilling cold. Buzz! Sizzle! Its single golden eye flashed with a bright light. Its 6 arms suddenly elongated, and its palms instantly enlarged. It was as if it could crush everything in its path. The white figure looked ugly and ferocious, but its aura was exceptionally powerful. Universe Master Level, Yao Tuo King. This was the Yao Tuo race that resided in the Mi Air Ice River. They lived in the Ice River and were often active on land. They were good at close combat. The Yao Tuo's golden eyes could affect the opponent's mind. It was a very powerful race. They were most powerful in the water, but they were not weak on land either. Shirwan Li's Hongmeng body was not weak either. With the power of a universe master, combined with the inheritance of 100 million wheels master, he was able to unleash his talent as a mind cultivator. Even against Yao Tuo King, he had the upper hand. If they were in the Mi Air Ice River, they might have been evenly matched. However, on land, Shirwan Li was obviously stronger. How dare you provoke me with such power? You're overestimating yourself. Shirwan Li unleashed his power and forced Yao Tuo King back. The latter escaped 1,000 miles away after failing to hit him. Shirwan Li was too lazy to chase after him. Even if he killed Yao Tuo King, he would not gain much from it. Not only Mi Luo Wilderness, but Mi Air Ice River is also in its original state. Seeing Yao Tuo King, Lin Feng knew that the Yao Tuo race was not annihilated by the insectoids. Since the Yao Tuo race was not annihilated, the insectoids naturally did not invade Mi Air Ice River. This was because Mi Air Ice River was where the Yao Tuo race lived. That's true. The insectoids don't need to do this for now. It's too strenuous for them to devour the energy of Mi Air Ice River. Lin Feng forced Yao Tuo King back and continued moving in the direction of his senses. After entering Mi Luo Wilderness, the senses became stronger and stronger. However, there seemed to be something wrong. It was as if he was seeing double, and his senses seemed to be overlapping too. No, it's not overlapping. It's 2 senses. Shirwan Li sped deeper. Lin Feng gradually felt that something was wrong. The double images seemed to have split into 2. It was as if a straight path had split into 2. The deeper he went, the more obvious the split became. Strange. Lin Feng fell into deep thought. Why were there 2 senses? Could it be that the insectoid commander had a clone? That's not right. Even if there was a clone, it should be the one that sensed the main body. Could it be that there are 2 insectoid commanders this time? Lin Feng was even more confused. According to the information from the first Marshal and Marshal Hongming, there would only be one insectoid leader every time there was an insectoid disaster. Or maybe the senses this time are wrong. Lin Feng couldn't understand this strange situation. The only way now was to continue moving in one of the senses and verify it. He would know the result. However, at this moment, Lin Feng was no longer certain. It was very obvious that there was a possibility that there was a mistake. Even if it wasn't wrong, the one he sensed might not be the insectoid commander. If it's not the insectoid commander, why would I sense it? What am I sensing? Lin Feng became more and more curious. Shirwan Li's flying speed kept increasing. He didn't stop fighting along the way. More than one Yao Tua king appeared. This was one of their territories. When they saw an outsider, they wouldn't be polite. The senses became deeper and deeper. The distance between them became closer and closer. However, Lin Feng became more and more confused. This was because his senses had changed from 2 directions to 3 directions, then to 4 directions. Now, there were a total of 5 directions, causing Lin Feng to be confused. At this moment, Lin Feng was sure that the insectoid commander he sensed wasn't the insectoid commander. Even if there were 2 insectoid commanders this time, there couldn't be 3, 4, or even 5, right? There were so many commanders. They would have started fighting long ago. I'm close. Lin Feng kept moving towards his first target. No matter how many senses he had to find one first and solve the mystery. Luckily, I didn't inform the first marshal. If not, it would be awkward. Swoosh. Shirwan Li gradually slowed down. Not only was he very close to his target, but the surrounding environment was also very oppressive. The energy of the universe seemed to have disappeared. A huge oppressive force covered this area like the sky. It felt as if he had fallen into a spider's web. There, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He followed the direction of his senses and almost instantly found his target. A huge aura of the ruler of the universe. Chapter 3025. That was an incomparably huge monster. Landing in the mirror world, it was as though it was frozen. It seemed extremely close, yet it was also extremely far away. The mirror world, which was hard to distinguish between reality and illusion, was filled with strange and mysterious energy that reflected this enormous monster. Its steel-like body was like a castle, and there was a golden sarcoma on its head. It had 12 blade-like arms, and its killing intent was clear. Silver meridians ran through its entire body, reaching its abdomen and a golden universe sac. Its long, sharp tail was raised high, and cold light flashed. Big Yin Insect. Bug Clan Ultimate Body. The Big Yin Insect was formed from the combination of the time-devouring Bug Emperor and the universe-splitting Bug King. The failure rate of evolution was extremely high, but once it succeeded, it would become the Bug Clan Ultimate Body, the Big Yin Insect. Its power was terrifying. Whether it was the time-devouring Bug Emperor or the universe-splitting Bug King, their power was close to that of a universe dominator. Once they combined to form the Big Yin Insect, they would at least have the power of a top-tier universe dominator. And the Big Yin Insect had no weaknesses. It had the strengths of both the time-devouring Bug Emperor and the universe-splitting Bug King. Whether it was close combat or soul attacks, it was extremely powerful. The most terrifying thing was that it could breed the time-devouring Bug Emperor and the universe-splitting Bug King. Is it the commander of the Bug Clan? Lin Feng thought, but he immediately rejected it. Even though the Big Yin Insect had a huge aura, like an emperor, it didn't seem like the mastermind of the Bug Clan. This Big Yin Insect didn't have the feeling of superior intelligence, and previously, he had sensed a total of 5 of them. In other words, every one of them was a Big Yin Insect. In the depths of Mi Luo Tua territory, there were at least 5 of them. I understand. Lin Feng suddenly understood. Among the hundreds of super black discs that he had absorbed, it was obvious that some of them were nurtured by this Big Yin Insect. They had a trace of this Big Yin Insect's consciousness so they could sense it. Distance was one thing, and correspondence was another. Food, ka. The greenish-white pupils emitted a dazzling radiance. They were still very far away, but through the mirror world, they seemed to form a line. The great yin insect actually launched an attack at Lin Feng. It went straight into the depths of his soul, attacking both his soul and willpower. The sky and earth were spinning. Lin Feng was shocked. Impossible. He was actually caught in an illusion. It's the earth domain. Lin Feng suddenly discovered the crux of the matter. He focused his mind and focused his willpower. The big yin insect made use of the hidden natural barriers to make the illusions even more peculiar and impossible to guard against. The Milieu Tuo realm itself had all kinds of mirror worlds and layers of illusions. The mirror worlds in the Milieu wilderness were even more mysterious. Originally, the illusions in the Milieu wilderness wouldn't pose any threat to him, but combined with the attacks of the great yin insect, it was different. 1 + 1 is greater than 2. The big yin insect's illusion technique was like a fire that ignited the illusions in this place. Lin Feng rarely fell for illusions, and he rarely entered illusions because these illusions could not shake his will. But this time, it had nothing to do with willpower. It was as if the illusion could penetrate the defense and directly cause damage to the physical body. The illusion was directly connected to the soul. In the surrounding mirror world, the ferocious appearances of the great yin worms appeared one after another. Their greenish-white eyes emitted a terrifying demonic light. An evil aura enveloped the entire area. It was very real. In fact, it was indeed real. In an instant, Lin Feng was in danger, surrounded by dozens of mirror worlds. Only one of them is real. It was because the big yin worms merged their true bodies into the illusions and merged with the mirror worlds that they could create such a direct illusion attack. At this moment, there were dozens of big yin worms. In the illusions, every one of them could be real, and every one of them had powerful attacks. Lu, one of the big yin worms, waved its saber arm, and an ear-piercing sound shook the soul as it attacked Lin Feng. The mirror world shattered, and the evil aura surged. Bang! The other mirror surface also shattered, and another great yin insect rolled out like a tank. Bang! Boom! Dong! The big yin worms rushed out from the mirror worlds one after another. Their aura was so strong that it covered everything, and they formed an encirclement. With Lin Feng's strength, he was confident that he could deal with one, but to deal with dozens of them at the same time while being trapped in an illusion, he would die without a doubt. But at this moment, Lin Feng was very calm. The small world incarnation condensed and shrank to form a small world incarnation domain. The saber snow jewel flickered with a faint light, and the first dawn golden body revolved around it. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He was waiting for an opportunity, waiting for an opening. Hong! The first big yin worm's attack landed, and its powerful aura collided with the small world incarnation and Lin Feng's saber snow jewel. The power of a top-tier universe dominator was undoubtedly revealed. Not bad. Lin Feng had predicted that this big yin worm had the power of a top-tier universe dominator, but it hadn't reached the pinnacle. The big yin worm was the ultimate body of the bug race, and its power was not fixed. The power of a top-tier universe dominator was only the lower limit, not the upper limit. As for the true upper limit, no one knew. Who dared to say that there was a true upper limit? Pung! The second big yin worm's attack landed, and its coordination was exquisite. One-on-one, Lin Feng could still be calm, but one-on-two, Lin Feng already felt the pressure, and one-on-three, destroy. The dark red light shone brightly as Lin Feng roared, and his power exploded. However, even with his full power, he was still at a disadvantage. 1 against 4, 1 against 5. One by one, the big yin worms attacked crazily, and Lin Feng instantly fell into a dangerous situation. In such a situation, even if he tried his best, he would only be putting up a desperate struggle, and he would die without a burial place. Lin Feng was confident that he could break through the illusion and escape, but this was not the best way to solve the problem. The big yin worm was hiding in the mirror world, and what he saw in the Milieu wilderness might not be its real body, but a reflection of the mirror world. Yao Tua King could be seen everywhere in the Milieu wilderness, and if it was so easy to find the big yin worm, there would be a fierce battle. In the Milieu wilderness, the bug race was only hiding and hadn't destroyed it. The most difficult to kill was the hidden bug race. Lin Feng didn't want to miss this opportunity. Although it might be risky, he believed in his own judgment, and he believed in his close comrade who had always fought side by side with him. Second brother, Shi Wanli, Peng. Suddenly, there was a huge tremor in the void space, followed by the sky cracking and the mirror on the ground shattering. The familiar power of Hongmeng fell from the broken sky and crashed into the evil force of the big yin worm. The power of Hongmeng. Good. In a desperate situation, Lin Feng, who was fighting bitterly, smiled and firmly defended with his battle sword, Snow Jewel. This tyrannical power of Hongmeng belonged to his second brother, Shi Wanli. The illusion released by the big yin worm was naturally known to his second brother, who had a higher level of attainment in mental cultivation than him. In terms of attainment and illusions, he couldn't compare to his second brother. He was the true inheritor of the master of 100 million wheels. The mirror was a world. The shattering of the mirror represented the disappearance of the illusions. Mobile version update website. Chapter 3026. Qi, the big yin insect, which was attacking Lin Feng the most ferociously, turned into a ball of light before its bony arms fell halfway. The sound from its abdomen stopped abruptly, and its body disappeared. Crack. On the other hand, the furious great multiplication insect's greenish-white eyes dimmed. The destruction of the mirror world had caused it to disappear as well. Shua! Hua! The big yin insects disappeared one after another, and the pressure on Lin Feng decreased. However, there was a great yin insect that had been there since the beginning. It would attack from time to time, and its battle blade arms were like dark daggers, stabbing Lin Feng to death. "You're the one," Lin Feng shouted, and the great world body was instantly used. The universe in his body suddenly expanded and enveloped the big yin insect, along with the power of the two small world bodies. The dark red light condensed, not giving the big yin insect any chance to escape. Absolute advantage. The battle saber Snow Jewel turned into a sharp ray of light and directly pierced towards the great yin insect. Although the insect's hard carapace blocked the attack of the battle saber, Lin Feng instantly got close to the insect and entangled it with the golden primal chaos power. Lin Feng switched from defense to offense. One against dozens, Lin Feng naturally couldn't fight back. But one-on-one, the situation was different. The big yin insect, which only had the power of a top-tier universe dominator, was inferior to Lin Feng in all aspects. Although it had intelligence, it didn't have complete intelligence, and its battle awareness and experience were far inferior to Lin Feng's. In terms of real battle power, it was even weaker than Xie Chun, whom Lin Feng had fought in the Summit Challenge. Even Xie Chun couldn't fight back against Lin Feng, let alone this big yin insect. Without the protection of the mirror world, its true body was exposed in front of Lin Feng, and it couldn't attack or retreat. It had nowhere to go, and if it took a step back, it would fall off a cliff. Go! La! The big yin insect struggled with all its might, waving its saber arms wildly. Its evil aura was extremely chaotic. It wanted to escape back to its mirror world, but its huge body was completely entangled by Lin Feng. The mirror world was also directly confronting the great world incarnation. It was like a thief trying to escape, but it was tightly entangled, and even its clothes and pants were being pulled. You can't leave. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. The key now was to be safe, not to kill it in one blow. Shi Wanli was outside, so the big yin insect couldn't use the illusion anymore. As long as he didn't give it any chance, he could slowly kill it. Killing this grand expansion insect was crucial. Although Lin Feng was sure that it wasn't the big yin insect, since he could sense it, it meant that it was related to the super blackboard he absorbed. This was crucial. It might be difficult to find the insectoid commander directly, but it was possible to approach it step by step. Exploding insect. The sixth-stage Grand Mist Law, annihilation, along with the small world incarnation, erupted with the power of a Xiantian full-circle expert. Lin Feng's strongest blade art activated the tyrannical power of the battle saber snow jewel. The snow-white light cut through everything, killing the yin insect that was already at the end of its flight. Boom! Leaving behind a huge corpse, the great yin insect lay paralyzed on the smooth surface of the mirror like a pile of mud. It didn't make any more noise, and the evil aura vanished. The surrounding illusion completely shattered, and the familiar grand mist energy appeared. Lin Feng had returned to the Milieu wilderness. Amazing, big brother. Shi blinked and laughed. Thanks for your help, second brother. Lin Feng smiled. Although the Dominator armor set on him was broken, as long as there was enough energy, it would quickly repair itself. As for his own injuries, they were negligible. The Mountain Core World Body's defense was strong, but being surrounded by dozens of big yin insects, it was impossible not to be injured. If Shi was a bit slower, he might have died. The big yin insect was not to be trifled with. With us two brothers working together, no one in the Hongmeng Sea can be our match. Shi laughed and looked at the big yin insect. He squinted his eyes and stared at it for a while before asking, "How should we deal with it, big brother?" "I don't know. Let's try to absorb it," Lin Feng said. "Here?" Shi asked. Lin Feng nodded. The snow jewel drew a white light and removed the golden tumor on the big yin insect's forehead and the golden universe bag at its tail. This was the energy source of a universe splitting insect king and time devouring insect empress. After merging, it became the energy source of the big yin insect. It was different from the super black disk that was hard to absorb. The two were equivalent to energy storage. Whether it was the tumor of the universe splitting insect king or the universe bag of the time devouring insect empress, their value was extremely high. They were comparable to the Hongmeng source items. Lin Feng did not know the value of the big yin insect, but it was at least as valuable as the universe Hongmeng source item or even the almighty Hongmeng source item. Hua! Lin Feng directly absorbed the energy. This kind of energy was much easier to absorb than the super black disk. It could be instantly strengthened. Whether it was the tumor or the universe bag, they could both increase the elementary golden body. Moreover, the two had different special effects. The tumor could increase the universe golden body. The universe bag could increase the universe golden soul. Absorbing the super black disk could only increase the elementary golden body's energy. But the big yin insect's tumor and universe bag could directly strengthen the basic abilities of the elementary golden body. Increasing the elementary golden body's energy was to evolve the Hongmeng golden body. Strengthening the foundation of the elementary golden body was to evolve the elementary golden body. One was the quantity, the other was the quality. The elementary golden body was naturally more important, but Lin Feng was developing in all aspects, so he did not want to miss anything. What a powerful energy! Lin Feng sighed. The universe golden body that had been strengthened to 18 times instantly rose like an elevator. Although most of the big yin insect's tumor's energy was used to strengthen the elementary golden body, the universe golden body was also being strengthened at the same time. 20 times, 25 times, 30 times. It only stopped when it reached 33 times. It had strengthened the universe golden body by 15 times. The universe golden soul had also increased from less than 2 times to 16 times. It was equivalent to the universe golden body. If Lin Feng wanted to use the soul shock now, its power would be extremely terrifying. The foundation of the elementary golden body had increased in all aspects. But Lin Feng absorbed the big yin insect's tumor and universe bag, not because of the powerful energy they contained, but because of his senses. Lin Feng was sure that this big yin insect had given birth to many universe-devouring insect emperors and universe-splitting insect kings. That was why the super black disk he absorbed had a trace of its consciousness, which was why he could sense it. After entering the Milieu wilderness, there were 5 senses, which meant that there were 5 big yin insects. This meant that his previous guess was accurate. The senses were real, but there was a distance, and it would only be sensed when it was close. The insect race only had one head. In Hongming's Thousand Perception Mountain, the insect race's head was the universe-devouring insect emperor. In Milieu to a realm, the insect race's head was the great commander. Since he could sense the big yin insect by absorbing the super black disk's energy, then if he absorbed the big yin insect's energy, would he be able to sense the insect race's great commander? Lin Feng really wanted to know. Mobile version update website, M. Chapter 3027. It wasn't hard to absorb. With the current strength of Lin Feng's internal universe, the Golden Universe tumor and the Golden Universe sac were quickly absorbed. However, the special reaction that he wanted didn't arrive. Lin Feng focused his mind, hoping to sense even the slightest clue. However, things didn't go as he wished. There were only 4 reactions. Absorbing the Golden Universe tumor and the Golden Universe sac of the Big Yin insect didn't increase the reaction. There are many possibilities. It might be related. Maybe it's still a problem of distance. The bug commander isn't in the Milieu wilderness, so I can't sense it. Or maybe I need to absorb energy similar to the super blackboard. What I sensed before wasn't the universe sac or the universe tumor, but the super blackboard. There are many possibilities, and Lin Feng couldn't make an accurate judgment. Everything was still in a state of exploration. Absorbing the super blackboard at the beginning was also a guess, but now it confirmed his guess. Let's try again. Lin Feng quickly made a decision. There were too many possibilities of absorbing one big yin insect. If he could absorb 2 big yin insects, many of his guesses would be clear. What's more, the Golden Universe tumor and the Golden Universe sac of the big yin insect greatly increased his power. The Universe Golden Body and Universe Golden Soul both increased by 15 times. There were still 4 big yin insects. To be precise, there were still 4 big yin insects that could be sensed in the Milieu wilderness. From Lin Feng's point of view, there were at least 2 big yin insects in the entire Milieu Tua territory. After all, he had only absorbed a few dozen super blackboards, and many big yin insects couldn't sense him. He did the same. With his first experience, Lin Feng was even more confident in fighting the great yin insect for the second time. His cooperation with the great yin insect also improved. First, he lured the big yin insect to use its illusion, and then Shi Wanli broke the illusion, and Lin Feng used his small world avatar to kill it. It was almost the same. However, this big yin insect was much stronger than the previous one. It was close to the power of a pinnacle universe ruler. Lin Feng killed it, but he also lost a lot of energy. If it weren't for the fact that my initial enlightenment golden body was upgraded and I absorbed the first great multiplication insect, I might not have been able to win this battle. Although they were all great yin worms, there were differences in power levels. They might have the combat power of top-tier universe masters or pinnacle universe masters, or even stronger. This great yin insect should have matured earlier than the first one. The earlier it matured, the longer it stayed in the Milieu realm, the more energy it absorbed, and the stronger it became. Of course, the energy of the Golden Cosmos and the Golden Universe sac increased as well. This time, it took Lin Feng twice as long as the last time. The result was also quite amazing. The golden body of the universe increased from 33 times to 53 times, and the golden soul of the universe increased from 16 times to 36 times, an increase of 20 times. No pain, no gain. However, even after absorbing all of it, there was still no reaction. That eliminates the possibility of the great yin worm itself. Lin Feng sat on Shi Wanli's back, absorbing 2 great yin insects in a row without any reaction, so he could eliminate many possibilities. The bug commander himself is also a great yin insect. Perhaps there's no special connection between the 2 great yin insects? Perhaps the great yin insect wasn't born directly, but was born from the combination of the time devouring insect emperor and universe-splitting insect king? Lin Feng analyzed carefully, but he couldn't be sure. He didn't know much about the bug clan. Even in the entire Hongmeng Ocean, there weren't many who knew. Lin Feng had asked Marshal Hongmeng Kaler before, and the latter's answer was that there were many ordinary bug disasters, and the head of the bug clan was only a time-devouring insect emperor. Once a great yin insect appeared, it would be a destructive bug disaster. Although the Taichu had been suspected before, it shouldn't have appeared before. In the entire Hongmeng Ocean, there was only one time when such a destructive bug disaster had occurred, and that was the disaster of Taishu. If every big yin insect has a trace of the insect race's Grand Commander's will, it shouldn't be fooled a second time if I use the same method to lure and kill it. No, the great yin insect only has a trace of consciousness. It's not a clone of the Bug Clan commander. The Bug Clan only has one head, and every bug disaster is related to the head of the Bug Clan, so the entire operation is perfect. Previously on Hongmeng's Mount Xinjue, the head of the Bug Clan was the time-devouring insect emperor, but my connection to it came from Mount 1041's Hongmeng, and it was also absorbed by the super blackboard of the time-devouring insect emperor. The same level of life doesn't mean there's no connection, and there's no superior and subordinate relationship. The time-devouring insect queen that was born could evolve into a new time-devouring insect emperor, and the trace of consciousness in its body wouldn't disappear. Similarly, the great yin insect that was born from the combination of the time-devouring insect emperor and universe-splitting insect king, the original consciousness of the Bug Clan commander wouldn't disappear either. Lin Feng slowly organized his thoughts. Although these were only deductions, he still believed that the connection existed, and the great yin insect must have the secret of the Bug Clan commander. It's most likely related to the super blackboard. My previous connections were all absorbing the super blackboard, including the great yin insect before this. I didn't absorb the time-devouring insect emperor's super universe sac, but only the super blackboard given to me by the army. To sense the Bug Clan commander, I should have to find the great yin insect's super blackboard. But did the great yin insect have a super blackboard? A big question mark appeared in Lin Feng's mind. He was very confused. He had never seen it before. The super blackboard of the time-devouring insect emperor and universe-splitting insect king could be said to be a part of their body, just like the world incarnation of the mountain core or the internal universe of the Bug Clan. But the combination of the time-devouring insect emperor and universe-splitting insect king gave birth to the ultimate bug great yin insect, and its structure was completely different from the time-devouring insect emperor and universe-splitting insect king. Originally, the time-devouring insect emperor and universe-splitting insect king both had a super blackboard, but which one was the great yin insect's super blackboard after the combination? After 2 consecutive kills, he didn't see anything similar to the super blackboard. Maybe. The problem is, even if there is, how do I find it? Sherwanli spread his wings and soared, flying towards the other great yin insect that Lin Feng sensed. The 2 consecutive kills of the great yin insect were all induced attacks, and the great yin insect was pulled out of the mirror world in the Milieu wilderness. It was very cunning. Hiding in the mirror world, it could attack or retreat. It was too difficult to kill it. I have to think of a way to find its real body. The hiding place is very likely to be where its super blackboard is. In a short period of time, Lin Feng couldn't think of a good way. If the Bug Clan really wanted to hide, it wouldn't be easy to find it, especially since the great yin insect strength was not inferior to his, and it was very good at illusion. It could be said to be a perfect combination with the mirror world and the Milieu wilderness. Killing it was difficult, but finding it was even more difficult. But no matter how difficult it was, he had to do it. There must be a way. Lin Feng would not give up on any possibility. Mobile version update website. Chapter 3028. 11 of the 12 Taichu elite groups were searching in Milieu Barbarian. No matter how they looked at it, they all believed that the insect commander must be in the Milieu wilderness. Although they'd entered dozens of eras earlier than Lin Feng, Milieu Barbarian was huge, and they'd only explored a small part of it. Besides, Milieu Barbarian was full of dangers. The unpredictable mirror world, countless Yao Tua kings, and the occasional ice river tide. In addition to the sneak attacks of the elusive Dian worms, many of the 12 groups of Grand Primordium sovereigns died. Should we keep searching, Brother Sean? Yes, Brother Sean. We've been searching for dozens of eras, and we've lost a brother. We're not in the mood to fight anymore. It's the army's job to protect the Taichu. We don't have to pretend to be good people. That's right. It doesn't matter if we go or not. Brother Sean, even if the insect plague breaks out, with our strength, we can go to any origin chaotic universe and become the overlords of a region. The 4 universe masters mumbled listlessly. They were universe masters from Dragon Mountain region, one of the 12 Taichu elite groups. Brother Sean was the strongest being in Dragon Mountain region, a top-tier universe master, Mushan. You don't really think we're here to help the army, do you? Mushan's eyes flashed, and he led the way. His black-green skin was covered with tattoos, and he had great power. What did he mean? The universe masters from Dragon Mountain region looked at each other. If they weren't here to help the bug disaster, what were they here for? Haha, you're so stupid. When have you ever seen Brother Sean make a losing deal? Isoboron covered his mouth and giggled. The demon's plump body trembled. Help the army quell the insect plague? Is that what Brother Sean would do? Oh, what do you mean? Yes, Saso, I'll just say it. Saso-Boron raised her red eyes. Have you heard of the legend of Taisher Guhuang? Who doesn't, Saso? That's right. It's hard not to know the invincible Taisher Guhuang of the Hongmeng Sea. His name can be seen everywhere on the investiture of the gods. Let alone us. Any powerful being would be familiar with Taisher Guhuang. The various universe masters chatted amongst themselves, and the atmosphere became lively. This was the legendary Sea Emperor of Hongmeng, a super-existence that dominated the investiture of the gods. For countless years, no cultivator had ever surpassed him. He was the synonym of invincibility. However, the true legend of Taisher Guhuang was not in the investiture of the gods. Instead, it was the Grand Prime's calamity. The insectoid invasion of the Hongmeng Sea had been the most violent and massive one, sweeping through all of Genesis Supreme and almost completely destroying it. Even now, Genesis Supreme had still not fully recovered. From this, one could see just how terrible the insectoid disaster had been. Heroes are born in troubled times, and experts are born in desperate situations. It was because of Genesis Supreme's calamity that the strongest Guhuang had been forced to come out and create a legend that shocked the Hongmeng Sea. Under the circumstances where no cultivator was optimistic, the various universe masters had all escaped from Genesis Supreme, and Guhuang had single-handedly turned the tide and quelled the insectoid disaster. Saso, what does this have to do with Guhuang? That's right. Even though it was the insectoid disaster, we shouldn't have anything to do with Guhuang, right? The various universe masters were puzzled. Even though they admired Guhuang, it didn't mean that they wanted to save the Taichu and quell the insectoid disaster like Guhuang. Actually, Guhuang wasn't much stronger than you and me back then. Sasaborun's red eyes blinked. The various universe masters were stunned. Was this a joke? Guhuang wasn't much stronger than them? That was a transcendent being that was above world masters. Guhuang only became truly strong during Genesis Supreme's calamity, said Huashan, who had been silent all this while. Huashan, who had been silent all this time, opened his mouth. His dark eyes were cold and merciless, full of ambition. From the pinnacle universe master level to the limit universe master level, then to the world master level, until he quelled the insectoid disaster and stood at the peak of the Hongmeng Sea, completely surpassing the strength of a world lord. No one knows what happened during this period, and Guhuang disappeared long ago. No one knows if he's dead or alive. There are many different opinions. I think it's because of the insectoid disaster. The scarier the insectoid disaster, the stronger the opportunity. Guhuang must have gotten something from Big In Insect or even the great commander of the insectoid race. Our power has been shackled for a long time, and we can't break through. This Taichu insectoid disaster is the best opportunity. As long as we can discover the secret of Guhuang's power and the opportunity of the insectoid disaster, anything is possible. Hua Shan's deep and domineering voice made the eyes of all the universe masters light up. Just as Hua Shan said, their power had been shackled for countless eras, and their internal universes had been fixed. It was harder to improve than reaching the sky. Even the slightest improvement would take countless eras and long and arduous training. To be able to become a universe ruler, all of them were the strongest of the strong. They were all extremely talented. Such great beings who didn't want to improve and stand at the peak of the pyramid of the Hongmeng Sea. If there was an opportunity, of course, they had to give it their all, and they had to give it their all. Milieu Wilderness. Impressive. Lin Feng was bathed in blood, and his suit was broken. Shi Wanli wasn't any better. His golden wings were full of holes, and he looked dispirited. It was a fierce battle. That bastard's attack is too powerful. Ouch, my wings. Shi Wanli groaned and grimaced. This was the first time he'd been hurt so badly. Ever since he'd received the inheritance of 100 million wheels master, everything had been smooth sailing. He'd never been hurt like this. The power of a pinnacle universe master were still lacking. Although Lin Feng was close to the power of a pinnacle universe master, he was only close. When he met the big yin insect, even his great world avatar was restrained. Of course, he was defeated. Fortunately, the big yin insect didn't want to reveal its true body, so Lin Feng and Shi Wanli could escape. If they'd met it head-on, one of them would have died. The big yin insect is already so powerful. The commander of the insectoid race must be even more terrifying. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. Even if he found the commander of the insectoid race, he wouldn't be a match for it. He might even be killed instantly. This insectoid disaster was terrifying and destructive. Humph. I'll take revenge when I fully master the myriad domain secret world. 100,000 Miles mumbled resentfully. He had yet to fully master the primordial item, the myriad regions secret world, which was the Wheel Master's almighty primordial item. It's okay to lose once. Lin Feng comforted Shi Wanli. Although 100 million wheels master was an innate great being, he was only one step away from becoming a pinnacle universe master when he died. I'm afraid he wasn't a match for the big yin insect. You're already very powerful. Although he had yet to surpass his master, the current 100,000 miles was indeed very strong. Chapter 3029. The Milieu Tor Realm's 12 elite Grand Primordium sovereigns were mostly here for Grand Primordium to help quell the insect plague. However, there were a few groups like the Dragon Mountain region's elite Grand Primordium sovereigns led by Mushan with ulterior motives. The first marshal didn't know. He knew. But what could he do? When the water was too clear, there would be no fish. At least Mushan brought the universe leaders here to help and entered Milieu Tua territory to search for the big yin worms and the bug commander. Although their goal wasn't exactly the same as the army, it was more than 50% the same. No matter what, it was better than those universe leaders who didn't say anything and just watched the situation unfold. As long as they could find the bug commander, as long as they could stop the insect disaster, the army was willing to pay any price. If they wanted to find a secret of Gu Huang's invincibility, then go ahead and find it. Opportunities were always for the capable. The first marshal was happy to see this happen. He wasn't a narrow-minded person. Including Lin Feng's rise, which was known throughout the Taichu. The first marshal didn't care, even if it was because of the army's reputation. How could a person who wanted to achieve great things be so short-sighted? How is it, second brother? After a period of recovery, Lin Feng's injuries from the previous loss had completely healed. He didn't stop because of the loss. Instead, he became even more courageous. Now that they couldn't win, what was there to be afraid of? They had time and opportunities. As long as the bug race didn't appear and completely occupied Milieu Wilderness, they could hunt here without worrying. I've mostly recovered. As the inheritor of the master of 100 million wheels, Shi Wanli had many treasures. Plus, he was a Hongmeng, so his recovery speed was faster. That's good. We are very close to the fourth big yin worm. Lin Feng could clearly sense that after entering Milieu Wilderness, he had sensed 5 big yin worms. He had successfully killed the first and second, but the third had returned in defeat. Now, he was aiming for the fourth one. Every time he killed a big yin worm, his strength would increase a little. Lin Feng planned to kill the fourth and fifth before going back to deal with the third one. However, while it was easy to kill it, it was difficult to find the big yin insect's super blackboard. Lin Feng didn't notice the third big yin worm when he was fighting. He was hiding in the mirror world and was extremely difficult to find. As for the fourth one, in Lin Feng's opinion, it would be very difficult to discover. Why did these grand yin insects shrink their heads and tails, not daring to show themselves? Guard their initial big yin insect blackboard. Lin Feng could understand what the insectoids were doing. Although the insectoids seemed to have the absolute advantage at the moment, wave after wave of attacks had caused the Taichu army to suffer huge losses, and their military strength had plummeted. However, it should be known that the insectoids did not rely on their individual combat power, but on their attrition from one epoch to another. Whether it was the time-devouring insect emperor or the universe-splitter insect king, they weren't born out of thin air. They were all nurtured by big yin insects. These big yin insects were basically concentrated in the milieu wilderness, where the energy was the most vigorous. Once the big yin insect's location was exposed, it would definitely attract the Taichu universe rulers to hunt it down. In terms of individual combat power and absolute combat power, the insectoids were inferior to the Taichu universe rulers. They were also very clear that among the 12 Taichu universe rulers in the milieu wilderness, there were at least 2 groups that could kill a big yin insect. If the big yin insect was killed, the nurturing of the time-devouring insect emperor and the universe-splitter insect king would be hindered, and the insectoid's strongest attack power would be reduced. Of course, the insectoid commander was the head of the insectoids and was irreplaceable. However, these big yin insects were equivalent to the core of the insectoids. If they were found and killed, the insectoids would also be greatly affected. Every big yin insect was nurtured by the insectoid commander after spending a lot of effort. Unlike the time-devouring insect emperor and the universe-splitter insect king, every big yin insect that died was one less. It was not impossible to kill them all. Have you thought of a way, big brother? Sherwanli asked. No. Lin Feng shook his head. The big yin insects used the mirror world of the milieu wilderness to hide, and it was very difficult to find their true location. The previous 2 kills were only baited attacks, and they did not find their true location. If they could not find the true hiding place of the big yin insect, they naturally could not find the big yin insect black disc. These insects are really cunning. Sherwanli deeply despised. The wounds on his body were still faintly painful. He had been ambitious in the previous battle. Sherwanli grimaced, his eyes filled with rage. He wanted revenge. I'll take it one step at a time. Lin Feng could not think of any other way for now. If I can't find the big yin insect black disc, I'll just pretend it doesn't exist. Killing the big yin insects one by one will reduce the pressure on the army. After a dozen, or even a few dozen eras, I'll think of a way. Since he could kill the big yin insect black disc, Lin Feng would not be polite. He could guess what the bug race was thinking, and that was to kill the big yin insect black disc. Not only would it weaken the core power of the bug race, but it would also strengthen Lin Feng's primary golden body. With this, the scales would gradually tilt to one side. I don't believe the bug race can endure this. Lin Feng's eyes were sharp, and he sensed where the 4th big yin insect black disc was. Sherwanli became a beam of light, and Lin Feng immediately entered the big yin insect black disc. The 4th battle. There seems to be energy ripples over there. It's a battle. It could be the other elite Taichu universe masters. The universe masters from Dragon Mountain region stopped abruptly and looked to the left. Mu Shan, who was in the lead, had a cold expression. His black-green skin was filled with obvious demon engravings, and a great power was hidden within. Let's go and see. The universe masters followed Mu Shan's lead. A group of 6 streaks of light flew over and arrived at the battleground in an instant. What they saw made all the universe masters take a deep breath. It's the big yin insect. The big yin insect black disc was hidden here. Who are those 2? One is a Yuan Venerate, and the other is Almighty. They can fight the big yin insect black disc. The universe masters were shocked. At first, they were excited to find the big yin insect black disc, but when they saw the great disparity in strength in the battle, they were all attracted. One of the universe masters stared at Lin Feng and said, "It's Lin Feng." Lin Feng? The Lin Feng who defeated the ultimate god investiture list? So it's him. Lin Feng's name was quite well known in the Taichu. However, most of them had only heard of Lin Feng's battle results. They had never seen Lin Feng in person. This was especially true for the universe masters, who would not pay attention to such trivial matters. However, given Lin Feng's valiant battle results, even if they did not deliberately investigate, they would still know. Lin Feng actually came to Miluo Barbarian Land. I didn't expect to meet him here. Speaking of which, the two of them dared to fight against the bug race. How courageous! The universe masters discussed among themselves. It was fun to be able to witness the battle of this legendary genius. However, Mushan and Lagzo Boron obviously didn't think so. The two demon universe masters exchanged glances, and their expressions were solemn.